right. This is a town council meeting on Monday, October 19th, 2020. We can start the meeting at 7:31. It was posted for 7 p.m. This meeting is being conducted via, oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Gonna start this recording because
this conference will now be recorded.
Bear with me, I'll just repeat that. The Southbridge Town Council meeting on Monday, October 19th, 2020, 7 p.m. Remote participation only. We're starting the meeting at 7:31 p.m. Thank everybody for bearing with us as we had an executive session that we had to finish up and then allow everybody to get home to get remote participation. I'm going to call the meeting to order pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18. The Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town Council is being conducted via remote participation only. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in this order. Reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by the remote information noted below. We'll post a record of this meeting on the town's website at www.ci.southbridge.ma.us as soon as we're able to. I've been advised by Southbridge Cable TV Access that they're unable to provide this feed live due to some technology issues at the studio. So therefore, the meeting is being recorded by Southbridge Cable TV and will be rebroadcast as well as being recorded by us live. A reminder that a roll call vote is required for all votes taken under this order. Just going to get to the screen for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councillor Adam.
Present.
Anna.
Present.
Councillor Daniel.
Present.
Councillor Dow.
He may be delayed, so we'll hold off on him.
Okay.
I don't, Mary, before you go on, caller number 2, I don't know who you are, but I'm going to mute you. I'll come back to you if needed. Okay, go ahead.
Councillor Jovan.
Present.
Councillor Lazo.
Present.
Councillor Marquetti.
Present.
Councillor Ryan.
Present.
And Councillor Steves.
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Welcome, Councilor Lazo, to our age of remote. It's nice to see you on the camera. Technology. Stepped up to the technology world, so we appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Agenda item 3, consider and accept the town council meeting minutes of Monday, October 5th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Catrona, second by Councilor Steves. Are there any errors, corrections, or omissions? Councilor Steves.
2 that I noticed. One is in the big paragraph right at the beginning. It talks about being a Southern Worcester County Vocational School Committee meeting, which it isn't. And the other one was under agenda item number 8, where it says delivery fund. I assume that means stabilization. So I'm not aware of that.
What agenda item was that one?
Item number 8, where it says the delivery fund has 3.6 million. I think she meant stabilization.
Stabilization, yes, that was correct. Okay, anything further?
That's all I had.
Okay. Any other errors, corrections, or omissions? Councilor Ryan, did you have anything?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, seeing none, roll call to accept as amended.
Councillor Catrona.
Yes.
Councillor Daniel.
Yes.
Councillor Jovan.
Yes.
Councillor Lazo.
Abstain.
Councillor Marquetti.
Yes.
Councillor Ryan.
Yes.
Councillor Steves.
Yes.
And Councillor Adams.
Councilor Adams, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda item 3, subcommittee reports, general government. Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did have a meeting. Items number 10, 11, and 23 were on our agenda, so I'll talk to those when we get to them. We also talked about the wetlands bylaw. We also talked about policy about trying to come up with a council policy for appointments to various boards and commissions and the town managers boards and some kind of overview of that kind of stuff. We will continue talking about the wetlands bylaw and the boards and commission stuff at the next Gen Gov meeting, which I am tentatively setting up for next Monday. I do not have, and that's all I have at the moment, sir.
Thank you. Department of Public Works, Council Marquetti.
Thank you. We had a joint meeting of the DPW subcommittee and town council meeting on October 15th, 2020 at 6 p.m. This was a remote meeting. In attendance were myself, Councilor Steves, Councilor Dow, Citizen Member Bemis, DPW Director Heather Blakely, Town Manager Michael McCall, and Resident Dave Smick. There were agendas. Many of the agendas are on tonight's town council meeting agenda. We discussed the bid result of the Main Street intersection improvement project and made a recommendation to award the project. That's on tonight's agenda number 19. We discussed and approved the negative change order and the contract extension with Levand Electric for the electrical upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant. That's also on tonight's agenda number 16. We discussed and approved amendment number 4 with Stantec for additional oversight at the wastewater treatment plant due to the Levangie Electric extension, and that's on tonight's agenda number 17. We discussed and approved the final change order for the Franklin Terrace Wall replacement project, and that's on tonight's agenda on item 19. We also discussed the proposed bid documents and rates for snow contracts for snow plowers, and to see if any of the committee members had any ideas to encourage new contractors to plow for the town of Southbridge. Subcommittee members and residents offered ideas to the DPW director, Heather, and Heather is going to take those ideas and possibly present them for consideration at a future meeting. There was no action taken. And we discussed the update on the cost to install air conditioning in council chambers. This was a lengthy discussion about electrical phases and what was needed and the cost. The DPW director said there will be ongoing study on this. No action was taken. Under new business, Councilor Daniel had some follow-up questions about the bidding process and what happens if a company is put on the DCAM contractor certification list. And I also brought up that I had received a phone call from a resident who said there was a large light with wires attached to it that was down on the ground at the town common. Heather said she would have it cleaned up. And as a follow-up, I went down there today and it was cleaned up. Meeting was adjourned at 7:40 p.m. and there are no meetings scheduled at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Education and Human Services, Councilor Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No meetings held, no meetings scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you. Plan and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, October 13th was our last Planning and Development Subcommittee meeting. Agenda items 20 through 22 are on here, and we currently have no meetings scheduled in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Protection of Persons Property, Councilor Lazo.
We have no report at this time, and we do not have a meeting scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you. Special Committee Reports, Curbside Advisory Committee, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, as discussed this evening, we originally had planned on looking at doing the Curbside Advisory Committee presentation on 26 October. Due to the fact that General Gov has scheduled a meeting that night, or at least we received an email this evening, we decided to go ahead and have that meeting on that brief presentation being given on 2 November at a regular town council meeting. So I got it.
Okay, thank you. COVID-19 public health and safety briefing. I know we have a topic on here later on about the Halloween. I know our Director of Inspections, Andy Pelletier, is on, as well as Chief Woodson. I'll just give a quick comment about where we're at on this. Today, October 19th at 10 a.m., the Southbridge Emergency Operations Center held a circle back briefing to discuss the current status of COVID-19 cases in the town of Southbridge and to begin plans on any pre-planning to make sure that the town of Southbridge is prepared for any surges either in the flu or COVID-19 numbers. We are going between a yellow and red status right now. But first I'll ask Chief Wood. We also talked about public information, and we'll be looking to circle back next week on Monday to perhaps do a Facebook Live that we had done with Councilor Adams and the chief, perhaps the town manager, to make sure that we get information up on activities and where we're at. But first I'll go to Chief Woodson if he has anything as the incident commander, and then I'll turn it over to Andy if he has any updates as well. Or questions from councilors. So Chief Woodson?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, other members of the town council, Mr. Town Manager. So like the town chairman had explained earlier, we did meet to reopen the Emergency Operations Center. We felt that it was needed with the slight uptick in cases. We will move into a more, I don't want to say proactive, but a more of a different type of approach now that cases are climbing with as far as the public information page. Councilor Adams and I are working on that, how we're going to distribute that information. We just want to make sure all councilors and all residents get the same information at the same time and the same accurate information. And I know the Board of Health Director can explain why there are some differences in some of the numbers that are posted. We'll continue to meet. Our next meeting's on Monday, a week from today at 10 o'clock. And if needed, we'll meet every day, but I don't think we're at that point yet. The primary purpose and our mission for next week's meeting is going to be to discuss Halloween further, depending on what the numbers look like. I mean, as all of you know here, and you don't need to hear me say it, but things seem to change with this stuff hourly, never mind daily or weekly. It just seems like every hour, new information, it's either going up or it's going down. So we'll talk about that a week from today, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions now about anything anyone may have.
Any questions of the chief right now? Okay. Andy, you have any information that you want to share to the council and the community right now?
Just reiterate what I reported to the EOC this morning. We have 240 cases in town. We have 24 officially open cases right now, but I have to go down very fast because Cheryl Rowinski was, I was on vacation last week. Cheryl was doing a lot of follow-up. So I think the true number of cases that are actually open right now is below 10. I'll be getting with Cheryl to find out how many she closed over the week, either tomorrow or Wednesday. The chief alluded to some discrepancies in state reported numbers as compared to ours. The state reports confirmed cases, but cases I get in include probable cases that I have to do follow-ups on. Also, the state may attribute a case to the town of Southbridge, and through my follow-up, through my contact tracing, I find out they're actually living in Charlton. I submit the case to Charlton and take it off our records, but the state has already declared it a Southbridge case. So that is a slight discrepancy. And at the moment, there's 3 cases that I'm trying to track and figure out where they are, because they are apparently recurring cases. The original number was sometime back in April, maybe May, and they appear, but they don't get a new number. So it's a little bit more effort on my part to track them down and find out who they are. Our efforts right now are going to be towards getting the EPS site finalized, up and running. We've done a tabletop with the fire department, the police department, DPW, for a drive-through clinic at the DPW site. Our intention will be to run a clinic when the vaccine is available. And that's kind of where we're ramping up to right now, is a drive-through site at the DPW facility to give COVID vaccine once it becomes available. There's a bunch of hardships that I have to overcome regarding equipment and stuff like that. But I think we got that in hand and we're working towards it. So other than that, we're just trying to keep up. Any questions?
Councilor Steves, go ahead.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andy, it's a related question. If you're trying to set up a vaccine workshop or setup, have you thought about using it for the requirement that the state is now having all students get flu vaccines for the winter?
The school has done a really good job setting up a program. That program, I believe, is going to start this week or next week. But through a partnership with Walgreens, they are going to bring Walgreens into the schools. Mm-hmm. And they're going to do all the students that they can get permission slips to do. I have Karen Checker is the head nurse for the school, and she has invited me to join them. I'm looking for monies right now from the state. My goal will be to, obviously, Walgreens is a for-profit company. My goal will be to find monies to supplement the administration of vaccine through for the underinsured and uninsured persons. So that way, hopefully, Walgreens can not turn anybody away because of financing.
Okay. And also, I was curious, because I know covering Webster, I've seen that there are concerns in Webster about parents that are objecting to having their kids get vaccinated. Have you seen anything like that in town?
I have not. I think the schools would be the front runner on that one. I'm sure they sent permission slips home, and they would know how many parents said no way, no how. But I'm not hearing a lot.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, Council Marquetti?
Oh, yeah, through you to Andy. Do you know something that we don't know about a vaccine? I haven't heard anything about a vaccine coming out anytime soon. Maybe next April.
Even if it's next April, we got to start planning for it. I have to be ready when it comes out. The state in 9/11, soon after 9/11, put on every Department of Public Health to get a EDS site up and running that can vaccinate the total population of the town within 72 hours. We've been working generally on that. My 7 years here, I've been trying to improve that and hone on that. But I think we've got a good working plan. And when it does happen, I think we're ready to go. The biggest hardship right now, I've heard that they're close to a vaccine actually, but that the vaccine has to be held at ridiculously low temperatures, like 94 degrees below zero. And I don't know about you guys, but my refrigerator here at the house, I don't think it goes much below 1. So that's going to be a hardship on us to try to find the equipment to hold the vaccine while we got to keep it in refrigeration until 48 hours before use. That's what I'm hearing from the producers.
If I might follow up, if I could follow up, so you have heard there's a vaccine coming? Because the only thing I've ever heard was things on the, on the media.
I've heard Sanofi Pasteur is close to one, and there's one other company that's close to one. That was on a conference I had with Mass EPH. However, that doesn't mean it'll come up for the masses in the short time. Again, the hardship of shipping it at 94 degrees below zero, the hardship of holding it at 94 degrees below zero. I think outside MIT, you're not going to find too many refrigerators that can do that.
All right, thank you.
I think I had Councilor Adams.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a comment real quick. The Board of Health's been working on the emergency dispensing site for probably 3 years now, and I just want to say thank you to them for doing that and being proactive. Because I'll be honest with you, when the Board of Health started this whole process, it was type of an apocalyptic ideology, I would say. And to be honest with you, the town is very well prepared for it, working closely with the police department and the fire department. But I want to thank Andy and the Board of Health for continuously working on that and trying to perfect that. And we'll see that come to fruition if and when it's needed. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? All right, just for the record, Councilor Dow has joined us. So he is present at the meeting. And I did get a message from Cable Access. We are live now as well. So it is live with Cable Access. So thank you to them for getting that resolved. Any other questions on COVID-19? So we will be taking a proactive approach to, as we did in March. And thank you to all that participate in those calls. We have a really good team together, and with a new town manager, I'm sure we're going to see some good things move forward, particularly to make sure that we're all safe in that regard. As far as chairman's announcements, I don't think I have any announcements tonight. I'll turn it over to town manager McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I was given a notice from Southbridge Water Department just to read that there will be a performance hydrant flow test that's going to be conducted tomorrow evening, Tuesday, October 20th at approximately 9 p.m. And the location tested will be Central Street in Southbridge. And that will include testing and operation capacity of the hydrants on the property. The department requests that during this period, customers check their water before washing clothes. Customers may get accumulated sediment in their house laterals in the next morning. This will clear after a brief run of the water. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure they can check with our water department. As most of the counselors know, I did send out an email. We did close on the Wells School, and they are already looking to button that building up and go forward on that project. So that'll be welcome project for the town as they go forward with the conversion into residential units. And I also just want to let the council know that, and I'm sure they know this by now, that the census came to an end on October 15th, and that was really a disappointment. Just prior to that, the Secretary of State's office had reached out to my office to talk to me about trying to get a last-minute push for the census. And I had spent some time with our clerk, Maddie Bonadias, as well as some citizens, including Severina Rios, to touch base with a lot of community members. We were in the process of putting together a flyer, which the Secretary of State was going to pay for, because we had only had a 62% self-response rate, which was relatively low compared to many other Massachusetts communities. And it would have really benefited the town if we could have got out there for the last 2 weeks. I wanted to thank those people that were lining up to help, but unfortunately we couldn't go forward. And I don't think it's to the betterment of the town that we won't get the additional people counted. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Steves?
Yeah, I just want to add in a little bit of what the manager just said, is that I know that having driven around town, I saw a couple of census workers out there going door to door, visiting houses. So hopefully the actual result is better than that 62%.
Thank you. In regards to the Wells property, I just want to thank the town manager and the various departments for their hard work over the 4 weeks from the day one that the manager came on board. That issue was dropped in his lap. And I know how hard he had to work with the department heads, fire department, building department, inspections department. Just want to thank you all for all the hard work that you did to get that to fruition. It took a number of years. I know I've been on council 3 years and kept saying that it was right around the corner. So thank you, Mr. Town Manager, for bringing that home in a timely manner, given all the obstacles that we potentially could have had. So thank you for that.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the yeoman's work went to Andy Pelletier and his staff, along with Chief Norman and Steve Lavoie, Lieutenant Steve Lavoie, and we had assistance from the State Fire Marshal's office as well.
Yeah, again, thank you very much. I'm glad I did see fences up there today, so I knew they were eager to start, so that's going to hit the ground running on that project. So thank you. I look forward to getting that on the tax rolls and bringing in some additional revenue to the town, which would be nice. Here we go. Next presentations, swearing in. We have the Veterans Council by Councilor Adams. He's going to step away his council role to go into his Veterans Council role to give a brief presentation on some items in regards to the Veterans Council. So I'll turn this over to Councilor Adams. Welcome, Mr. Adams. I guess we'll call you right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, the Town Council, and Town Manager for having me this evening. First, I want to start off. I've got 3 items that I want to discuss with you, and I'll try to keep them brief. But I want to thank the Town Council for their constant support of the Veterans Council and the veterans within this community. So the first item I would like to discuss this evening, or let everybody know, is that the Veterans Council plans on doing its first ever Veterans Day ceremony. Because of and this will be November 11th, 2020 at 11 a.m. over at the Honor Roll Monument. And I say the first ever because I don't think in our history we've had this before, because Harrington Hospital and the Hotel Conference Center are not going to do its normal Veterans Day luncheon. We decided to go ahead and do a Veterans Day ceremony. I've gone through Town Manager, Andy Pelletier, Police Department, Fire Department, to work closely with them to understand and to work with any constraints with the issues with COVID. If anybody attended the Memorial Day ceremony back in May, it'll be similar to this without a firefighter formation or color guard or a firing detail. We do ask that the public not attend, and that there'll be certain invites to the town council and a few other individuals for the ceremony itself. Again, we ask for limited participation on the community itself, but we do plan on, just as Memorial Day, live streaming it and utilizing cable access as well. So we look forward to that. It should be less than an hour long. Obviously, social distancing and staying within the guidelines of what we are required by the state is paramount to our activity. And so we look forward to this event and to pay homage to our local veterans here in the town of Southbridge. Before I move on, is there any questions for me on that issue at all? Okay. The second thing here at this point is the Purple Heart community. I reached out almost about a year ago before COVID happened, and a friend of mine who is a Purple Heart recipient is the president of the Purple Heart Association here in the state of Massachusetts. If anybody doesn't know what a Purple Heart is, it was first awarded by General George Washington in 1782 for meritorious service. Later, in 1932, it turned into a medal or an award for being wounded in combat. The purpose of the Purple Heart community is to honor the military personnel and veterans wounded or killed in combat. Though we do not see them every day, there are a lot within our town that are Purple Heart recipients. So the Veterans Council would like to pay homage to them. And by doing so, what the Veterans Council voted on recently was to purchase 4 signs that would go at every main artery within our town. And these signs would go underneath the Welcome to the Southbridge signs that we have, or just to the side of them. We have purchased those. We have taken a look at and paid the cost of them. There is no cost to the town taxpayer itself. But we would like, when we will be presenting a proclamation to the town council very soon, whatever Mr. Chair would like us to do through the town council directly or through a subcommittee, we will do so, but a proclamation will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I will post some pictures of what the sign looks like here for the town of Southbridge. It's pretty amazing sign that they've come together with. So before I move on, is there any questions on that?
Any questions?
Okay. I'm sorry.
Council Dow, did you have a question? Council Dow?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say something. I was in Marlboro in a couple of days, and when I'm driving by, on every electric pole, it's a picture of every person was in World War II, World War I. All these served the country. They have a picture on every electric pole. It's possible for these guys, serve the country with their life and everything. That'd be nice. That's something too. Councilor Adam, be nice to do that too for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dow, for that comment, because we did actually talk about that with the Cultural Council providing a grant to us last year. Or they were supposed to provide a grant to us last year to help pay for some of those signs, but we have discussed that, and maybe this year we can further delve into that as well. I don't know what happened between that period of time and when they decided to vote on it, but I'm not sure what the costs were, but we've seen those signs as well, and they're pretty awesome within the community. So yeah, it hasn't gone unnoticed. So thank you. I do want to show you a picture of what the sign will look like. I don't know if you can actually see that, but it actually has the town of Southbridge in there as well. All right, Dresser Memorial Park. I know there's been a little bit of rumors here and there about what's happening there. The Veterans Council recently voted to pay for a landscape architect to take a look at all the small monuments throughout town, the neighborhood monuments that have kind of been forgotten about over the years. And they've also hired this landscape architect to take a look at the remodeling and restructuring of Dresser Memorial Park. And that being said, the Veterans Council went in, voted, and has paid for this landscape architect. He is out of Sturbridge. His name is Joe Cohn. He's part of JCLA Design, and he is currently working with, I believe, Heather and a few of us right now to move this along. So our concept right now through the Veterans Council and working closely with the trustees, soldiers, sailors, Marines, and Airmen's Memorials Board is to take those neighborhood monuments that are throughout the town, which are about 7 of them, and relocate those to Dresser Memorial Park. We also have about a 700-pound bronze Franco-American World War I plaque that's never been mounted that we would like to put in Dresser Memorial Park as well. We also have 2 VFW monuments that have been recently removed from the old VFW that was gifted to us, the Veterans Council, by Councilor Dow, moving it from the International Club, and they're currently stored over at the DPW. And we'd like to add those into the Dresser Memorial Park. And also the VFW, local VFW post here, is working on another monument for the recent generation that's dealt with the war on terror and 9/11. Part of the concept would be to add lights, to restructure as far as how the patterns would go with some of these monuments, to add a gazebo, add cameras, add benches, add picnic tables, also to purchase, what am I thinking of, pavers that people can purchase through donation, or they can buy outright with their family's name on it, or if they have a family member that served in the military, can utilize that and put their date of rank, the years that they served, their full name, and all that. This outlook for Dresser Memorial Park, we're taking a look at it. It won't be paid by taxpayer donations. Taxpayer funds. It will be paid through private donations. I've already started working with some of the local businesses as well. But I work closely. I briefed this to the town manager the other day, and I've been in contact with Karen Harnoy to make sure that how we go about doing this is legal, proper, and does justice not only to the veterans and those that paid the ultimate sacrifice, but also the town of Southbridge. So we're looking at that. Hiring this landscape architect, one thing he will provide is conceptual design. That conceptual design will be briefed to the town council in the near future. When he gets that completed and works through the trustees and Veterans Council itself, we'll also be provided on social media, through the paper and cable access. So at this point in time, I just wanted to kind of give the town council and the community a heads up of what we're looking at doing to better our community. And we're looking for support from the town council and pretty much in, I wouldn't say any with donations or anything like that or funds, but more so just some support that could help us move along the way. We wanted to keep the town council informed of everything that's going on, because rightfully so, you should be, and kind of plant the seed for our community to show what we're doing down there at Dresser Memorial Park. I hope I hit every aspect and bullet that I actually had on here. But are there any questions for me or any concerns that I can bring back to the Veterans Council or to the Trustees Memorials Board?
Any questions, comments? Council Marquetti.
The only question I have is if you've looked at any way of fixing the World War II monument itself. It looks like a lot of the I don't know if it was like gold on there, like a fake gold or whatever. It seems to have completely come off. I mean, if you were to start something like that, I would definitely consider contributing to something like that. Thank you.
Councilor Marquetti, thank you actually for the question, because this is an issue that we've actually talked about quite a bit, because that thing's been overlaid twice. And for some reason, you can actually walk by with your hand and it flakes right off. So we're gonna hopefully hire somebody to take a good look at that and see if do we need to do anything with that? Is it gonna damage that monument further, or is it going to just go away over time with weather and time? So we actually took a look at that. One thing that we wanted to take a look at was that we wanted to raise enough funds where we can maintain the park on a constant basis. So right now, if you take a look at the Honor Roll Monument, which was a fantastic job done, but over time, it really hasn't been upkept. So right now, like the electrical is not working properly down there. Like you just mentioned, the bluing or whatever it would be called, the covering on that plaque itself is coming off. So we'd like to raise enough funds and consistently raise those funds through donations to maintain not only that part, but also the Gold Star Mother, the Vietnam, the Italian American. And also within that conceptual design, I did forget something. Within that conceptual design, I'm asking the landscape architect to pay attention to the Hiker Monument, the World War I monument over on Elm Street. And I believe that's the only two. And actually the Polish American monument, if that were ever to be donated to the town, to actually add that into the design. So let's say 30 years from now, they want to move those monuments because some construction's happening. You have those designs, DPWs has those designs where we can add that to the park already built in. So thank you, Councilor Marquetti. Long-winded.
That's fine.
Council Ryan?
Thank you, Mr.
Council
Chair.
Ryan, you had a question?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a comment. I just wanted to thank both Councilor Adams and the Veterans Council for all the work they're doing. This is a wonderful thing that the community is pursuing, and I'm really happy that Dave and the Veterans Council led this charge. And it's a nice little bit of positivity to add in such a dire time. I'm especially appreciative of the quick response the Veterans Council has had in coming up with alternative plans for Veterans Day, considering that some of these places aren't going to be functioning. So thank you, Councilor Adams, and a huge thank you to the Veterans Council.
Thank you, and I'll move that on to them at our next meeting here very soon. Thank you, Councilor Ryan.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Dave, and we look forward to hearing the next presentation and working forward on that.
Thank you. I'll put my new hat on.
Moving on to citizens forum. Is there anyone from citizens that wish to address council? Ms. Clements. Just state your name for the record as usual. So go ahead, Denise.
128 Country Club Place. Okay. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
I'm just bringing to it the public's attention right now. I realized Halloween hasn't even hit, and certainly not Thanksgiving, but Christmas is around the corner. So I just want to let you know that regardless of COVID and all, some things in this town will remain the same. We will be getting out the holiday decorations so that there is some spirit going on throughout our community. We have been working, a few of us have been working already at the warehouse, the Santa shop on Mill Street, trying to get things organized and ramped up and reinvented for the community. We are encouraging participation. You're welcome to wear masks if you want to come and help us work at the warehouse when we are there. We have hours sometimes during the day and evenings and weekends. I've been there pretty much for the last 3 weeks. You can find those hours generally posted on our Southbridge Holiday Visions Facebook page. The Facebook page is an open page, so even if you don't have Facebook, like me, technically I don't actually have Facebook, the Holiday Visions does. And my family members do a good job at keeping it updated. But you can find hours there that when we're working. You can also find contact information. So if you want to get in touch with me personally and find out how you can help this endeavor, we would love to have more participation. Been a little bit light this year, and we do have a lot of work to get done. We're hoping the community enjoys it as much as they have over the last few years. We've got a few new surprises, and as I said, we are working numerous hours. Family members and a few friends have shown up. Now, in order to make this all happen, many of you are aware that we have what's called distribution weekends, and those will be coming up the first 2 weekends in November. we will be mindful of that November 11th event that is happening at the monument, Councilor Adams, to make sure that we don't interfere with anything there. But we do need many hands for that. If we cannot get the volunteers, strong backs and good hands to help us out, then it makes it really tough and maybe potentially impossible at some point. So if you are at all interested, maybe you have a pickup truck or a small trailer and you want to help on the first or second weekend in November, again, more information will be on the Southbridge Holiday Vision Facebook page. And if you have any way that you might want to participate, maybe it's just one morning, one afternoon, 1 hour, we can use your help. So first, it's the renovation and restoration and getting things ready. That's happening now. And then the first 2 weekends, we call those distribution weekends, when we work in groups and go out and make sure that everything gets put out into our community. It really is an effort like no other. It amazes me every year. And I hope that this year we can get enough bodies together to be more amazed than ever and show the community that we're come together and to provide a little bit of holiday spirit in sometimes some dark times that have happened to many. But this doesn't cost anyone to participate. It's just come and help us out and then just enjoy. And if you can't help us, we understand, but enjoy what we do for you. So again, Southbridge Holiday Visions is our Facebook. You can also email at southbridgeholidayvisions@yahoo.com. You can email me directly there. Many know how to get in touch with me. Feel free to call my cell phone. You've got the numbers are listed out there if you find it. I'm not just going to say it here on TV, but certainly I'm posted pretty much anywhere, and someone can get you in touch with me. And we hope that I know counselors have showed interest and have helped in the past, and we certainly hope we can encourage you again in the future. One last thing, we are not sure at this time. I did meet with the town manager to discuss the event Saturday after Thanksgiving. We usually have our big event. It would be November 28th this year on the Common. We have talked, we're not sure yet. We will be discussing that in the next few weeks to find out whether or not we'll just have a parade or a parade and something or nothing at all. But the town will be festive, and no doubt we can share a little bit of holiday spirit regardless of what happens. But we certainly hope we can give you something to feel good about over the holiday season. Thank you very much. If you have questions.
Thank you, Ms. Clements. Is there anybody else have any questions or anything? I'm having issues with my computer, so I just give me a minute. Councilor Adams, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. To Mrs. Clements, I'll reach out to you the next day or so we can kind of go over. So I don't want to hinder what you guys are doing as well. So I think we've discussed this in the past. So I thank you for reminding me, by the way. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council?
Council Dow?
Anyone else? Hold on.
Council Dow?
Council Dow, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Mrs. Clements for every year doing the decoration for the town, and I'm willing to help with moving. I have a few tow trucks and a few guys who can always help move the stuff. So I'll be standing by. You can call me when you're ready to move them out, and I will try to go in the shop, but I can't promise you that. But regarding moving the stuff, I do have a 2 flatbed. We can move most of them if you like. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Catrona, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mrs. Clements. As I've participated the last few years, this is a wonderful time for everyone to get together, to get into the holiday spirit. It is a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding to see the town set up afterward with the decorations, from spending time in the warehouse to just working with everyone. It's a lot of fun. Come on down, help out, put things together in the warehouse, and please help set up. I hope we still do the Santa Claus and the lighting of the tree this year. I would encourage the town to do that as well, and to keep the holiday spirit and continue this tradition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mrs. Clemens.
Thank you. Any other councilors' comments? Thank you, Denise. I look forward to working with you. Are there anything else, Denise? Did you have something else?
Just thanks for your time, guys. Keep going.
Thank you. Any other citizens wish to address the council? Any other citizens? Seeing none, moving on to the agenda. Item 10, vote to confirm the appointment of Leonard Vignall to the Southbridge Airport Commission effective immediately through June 30th, 2021. To fill a one-year term vacancy due to a member resignation pending completion of state ethics training. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion by Council Catrona, second by Council Ryan. Any recommendations? Was this to Gen Gov? Council Steves?
It was, Mr. Chairman. We unanimously recommended 4-0. Lenny's been on the airport commission for years, previous to briefly stepping off for family and work conflicts, and he's now got some more time, so he wants to do it again. I think it'd be a good fit because he's been there. He knows a lot about the system. So,
okay. Any other comments by anybody else? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Joanne,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
and Counselor Catrona.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Vignall, I saw you on. I should have referred to you. Have anything to say, Lenny, while you're on?
Through the chair, thank you for the vote of confidence to the town council there. I look forward to working with the commission and continuing the great work up there. It's a great, I really enjoy it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for rejoining and serving, and we appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item 11, vote to approve transfer request from project number 67900 landfill royalties to project number 9105 special appropriation town manager landfill legal in the amount of $150,000 to cover invoices dealing with the well water issues at the landfill. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, go motion by Council Ryan, second by Council Catrona. Council Steves first.
Yeah, that went through Gen Gov as well. We unanimously recommended it 4-0. This is simply just to catch up on the bills for all the stuff that we were dealing with in executive session. Hopefully we won't be seeing bills anywhere near this big in the near future. So.
Thank you. Council Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the town manager. This is reimbursable by the insurance company. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that is my understanding, and I know since I've been here, we have been getting reimbursements for some of the bills that have already come in. So, yes, that should be reimbursed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Joanne,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
and Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 12, discussion regarding the schedule of Halloween activities trick-or-treating as approved by the Board of Health on October 8th, 2020, and take any action on same. I've added this on the agenda. I had received some correspondence from Councilor Marquetti asking us to have a conversation about this. And we had a discussion about it this morning at our EOC. The Board of Health has approved trick-or-treating to take place in the town of Southbridge, and we had some conversations about it. So I don't know if the town manager wants to start off with anything or what specific questions that councils may have on this. We can turn it over to Andy, I guess, as well, to give the rationale from the Board of Health Director of Inspections Department as to why they made the decision. But I don't know, Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything you want to start off with?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The trend that I'm seeing is that there are many communities allowing trick-or-treating to avoid the potential problems of people having parties at home or going to other communities and bringing any type of infections back. And I believe that's what Mr. Pelletier would say if we defer to him, but that's my only commentary, that I think we should do whatever is in the best interest in the community to ensure that we don't create any more exposures to COVID-19. So if allowing trick-or-treating for the Board of Health is the appropriate avenue, I would suggest we go that route.
Thank you. Andy, do you have some comments you want to make on the actions taken by the Board of Health, please? For the community as well as the council.
Good morning, good evening. I'll just reiterate essentially what I said this morning. Tough decision by the Board of Health because we get our guidance from most decisions that the Board of Health has to make regarding public health issues from CDC and from the Massachusetts State DPH. And very rare are they split on something, but CDC seems to shy away from the trick-or-treating, whereas DPH seems to encourage it specifically for the reasons that Mr. McCall just mentioned. And the Board of Health followed suit with the Department of Public Health. We really approached this, the board approached this from not should we have trick-or-treating, but what would the alternative be? And again, as Mr. McCall just alluded to, if we don't have the trick-or-treating, then people are going to get together and party. Mom is going to get little Johnny in the cellar with 13 of his friends, and they're going to have Halloween games and stuff. It really was a decision of the lesser of two potential evils. In my the contact with a COVID positive person, it's considered exposure to a person within 6 feet for more than 10 to 15 minutes. I know when I used to bring my kids trick-or-treating, it was running up and down the streets. They didn't pass anybody. They didn't stay with anybody for more than 10 or 15 minutes. The board did make note of some concern areas, specifically Hartwell Ave and Marcy Street, which seem to just be a wild pack of dogs up there sometimes. It's packed, it's very tight. We have reached out to the police, and Shane can weigh in on this, but we reached out to the police and asked them if we could have a very conspicuous police presence up there, moving people along if they notice anybody hanging around loitering. But it really came down to the board deciding that trick-or-treating would be the lesser of two evils. We don't want the kids partying together. We don't want the kids congregating together. And we don't want them moving into a town that trick-or-treating is allowed and bring that town's problems to Southbridge. So the board opted for the lesser of two evils and voted to allow trick-or-treating, deferring to the police for the.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Can you see us, Jack?
Council Dow? Council Dow? Did you raise your hand?
Council Adams first, Mr. Chair.
Did you have a question? Yeah, I'm just looking around.
Okay.
Right, Council Adams,
go ahead, Councilor Dow. I'll refer to you. All right, I'll start off. Andy, can you give us the time of trick-or-treating that the Board of Health and the police authorized?
I believe it's 5:30 to 7, but I'm going to allow Shane to weigh in.
Correct. Through you, Mr. Chair. Trick-or-treating is from 5:30 to 7. It has been for the last 20 years or so.
Thank you, Chief and Andy. I listened to the Board of Health and the other night at their meeting, and they took their authority to heart when it came to this issue, and I think they argued back and forth a little bit of why and why not. And I will say this is I don't have a problem with the process of how they did it, and I don't have the problem with the decisions they ultimately came to. I'm in support of their decision to make. I do know there are parents or guardians out there that are concerned, and I completely understand that concern as being a father myself. But if they don't want to go trick-or-treating, or they don't feel it's safe for their sons or daughters or grandchild to go trick-or-treating, then they don't take them trick-or-treating. If a resident doesn't feel safe handing out candy in a proper format, then I say they turn off their light and they close their door. And I think people who are walking by should respect that when the light is off. The presence of the police, I think, will help out. I believe, and I may be wrong, maybe some of the Board of Health members may be out there as well, helping out. So I don't see any issue at this point in time. I do hope everybody remains safe and calm about this whole issue. But again, I reiterate, I don't have a problem with what the Board of Health has made a decision for, and I fully support them. Thank you.
Just have issues with my.
I think you asked for me. I don't know. For you to Andy.
Steve, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Andy, are there any?
Go ahead, Council Steve.
I'm talking now. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Andy, are there any circumstances under which the Board of Health may decide to kind of at the last minute cancel trick or treating, given the fact that we are supposedly a red community?
Just to let the council know, we were a red community the week before I went on vacation. Over my vacation, we slipped back into yellow. We are right on the red-yellow border. It takes 19 cases in Southbridge over 14 days. For 14 days, 19 cases for us to trip red. We, last week, slipped to 18 cases. So we're right on the border, but we are currently yellow. Case we are on right now keeps us right on the border. So I'm not sure what we will be as of Thursday of this week. I believe any incident, a breakout in the young students, a consistent step into red, I think anything could bring the Board of Health back to the table to reconsider this, at least to rediscuss this. But as of right now, we're going to pray that we stay yellow. We're going to pray that the schools stay clean and move forward in this manner.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Councilor Dow, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. I agree with Council Adam regarding we should keep it going for the kids. I think the kids, a lot of things was taken from them and need a little bit a change. And I think it's good because outside, and as you see, every house will be walking together. It's not like a different home, same group. I believe, every parents and brother and sister from the same house to be walking together for trick or treat. And if anybody concerned, the kids home. So I'm supporting the trick or treat to be, go forward and let the kids doing it. And with the Chief Woodson vision, police control on the road, when I see a lot of people want space, maybe they can peep the horn a little bit, put the light, we keep moving, either if they're walking. So I'm with it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go Council Marquetti first, then Council Lazo, and then Chief Woodson. Go ahead, Council Marquetti.
Thank you. The only thing I can say is that I just don't think it's a good idea to have trick-or-treating in the middle of a pandemic. And that's all I'll say about it. I'm not going to answer every single scenario. They may go to another town. By that logic, are the other towns going to come here? During a pandemic, I don't think it's a good idea to have door-to-door trick-or-treating. Thank you.
Council Lazo?
Just like to compliment and commend the Board of Health. Very bold move, and I am totally in favor of what they are doing. I think that when it comes down to policing the streets, I think Chief Woodson has done a good job in the past trick or treats. I think our police department has done a fine job. I mean, this is America. Let the parents make the decisions. Government cannot control everything. Yes, it's a pandemic. Yes, we're red. Yes, we're yellow. I've been told different things, the CDC and this and that. Masks, distancing, we get it. But the parents have to have the say over their children. And the Board of Health is to be commended. And I think if we as a community, you want to hide in your basement, hide in your basement, it's your choice. But if you want to live a normal life, we already see what this pandemic's doing to us by shutting down. And I think as a town, I think we're cautious. I think our health department is cautious. Police department's on task. And I think that we can have a safe trick or treating and the parents can make the decisions for their families and their children. And I think it's going to work out real well. Again, I commend the Board of Health. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman Jovan, I take offense to somebody saying I'm going to hide in my basement just because I don't think it's safe during a pandemic to have door trick or treating. So I don't really like somebody telling me that I'm going to hide in my basement. I'm not hiding in my basement. Thank you.
My comments were not aimed at Mr. Marquetti. They're not. They're more aimed at Joe Biden. Thank you.
I take offense to that too. I mean, why does he have to put politics?
Councilman Marquetti, enough. Councilman Marquetti, enough. The point was made. We're done with this conversation with that part. He said he wasn't talking about you.
No.
Any other comments? Chief Woodson, you have the floor next.
If I could, through you, Mr. Chair, I also support the Board of Health's decision. And, you know, I grew up in this community, as most of you know, and I spent, I don't know, the first 15, 16 years of my life trick-or-treating here. I grew up on Henry Street. We were always in a pack of kids. We're always together. It's the same kids, same families. I've also been involved as a police officer here trick-or-treating for 25 years. And yeah, Hartwell a bit crazy in Marcy Street, and we close the streets every year. But it's, you know, in my opinion, it's outside. I agree with the Board of Health. Kids are moving. Kids are traveling in packs together. 2020 has been horrible. I'd like to use another word, but I will not. My children will be trick-or-treating. I'm just trying to give the kids something positive, man. Something positive has to come this year. And I don't think there's going to be an issue. There's going to be minimal contact. Our people, our men and women that work for the PD will be out in full effect. We are anyway, whether it's a pandemic or not. And nothing will change this year. Our operations will be the same. We plan on closing Marcy. We plan on closing Hartwell again, heavy presence. And we will try this year to move people along. As a Council Dowd mentioned, we'll try to, you know, do the best we can with it. But unless something drastically changes in the next week or two, I support what the Board of Health's decision is. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make another comment.
Mr. Pelletier. Hold on, Mr. Pelletier.
I'd just like to put in a last word for the Board of Health. If recommendations to people who are trick-or-treating, we're still asking for social distancing. Be aware that there is a pandemic out there. If you see a light off, respect it. There are people who are genuinely afraid of this pandemic. There are others who are very cavalier about this pandemic. No matter what side of that debate you're on, be respectful for the people who genuinely fear it. If their lights are off, give them the distance, stay away from their houses. Just respect the people around you while you're doing this trick-or-treating. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilor Marquetti?
No, I just would like to comment, you know, if someone is going to bring in politics to this issue, politics should never be brought into this. But if you're going to bring in politics to this issue, then I say, I hope nobody gets the COVID like Mr. Trump. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Catrona.
Mr. Chairman, I certainly support the Board of Health issue. Can we move this question, please?
There is no vote to be moved. This was a discussion, and then if there was any action that we wish to take, we could entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we move the discussion?
Okay. Councilor Adams, did you have something else? Do you want to be recognized? Okay, I just want to state that we had this conversation at the Emergency Operations Center. I'm going to rely on the Board of Health. They are the body that provides guidance on health and safety to the town of Southbridge. They are recommending at this time that trick-or-treating goes forward. If at some point they decide that the numbers have changed so dramatically that they don't wish to have it go forward, then let them make a recommendation to the town to cancel that activity. But they are the Board of Health. That's their purview. Their purview is health and safety of the community. In their view, if they wish to allow that to go forward, then so be it. To other councilors' points, a resident does have the right to not participate, and parents have the right not to have their kids out there. So that I'll leave it at that. We do plan on next week. It was brought up to have a Facebook Live conducted by the public information officers to include the activities for Halloween and trick-or-treating if it so goes forward, to provide guidance to the community as to how to do it safely in the parameters that we're looking for. So I think we're doing due diligence in that regard. So if there's anything else, otherwise we'll move on. Councilor Dow, did you have something else, or you all set?
Just, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just if we can, educate the kid at school just a little bit. I'm not sure if there's any way we can do that. And that's it. I mean, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything further? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 13, vote to ratify the retiree health insurance renewal for January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Dow. Mr. Town Manager, I think Melissa's on as well. This was asked to be brought up because of time constraints on this, I believe. Didn't go to General Gov, correct? Right. So go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
At this time, I can defer to our treasurer. If she doesn't want to speak, I can address it, but she's been working diligently on the insurance rates. So if she wants to chime in, that'd be great.
Thank you. Melissa? Melissa?
If not, Mr. Chairman, then I'll just address this. I know in many respects, reading some of the information coming out of the various insurance companies and what we had seen in some of the news from Beacon Hill, that we were preparing for increases in rates. And I would say this is a very welcome surprise that the rates actually went down for our Medicare rates. So there's been an overall reduction, and we're looking at a total of a 5.37 decrease for our retirees. So I would recommend accepting that rate.
Thank you. And just for the record, Melissa is on and her microphone is green. But I do know that this morning she had the same problem at the EOC meeting that we had, that for some reason she wasn't able to get it to communicate correctly. So she is on the call, but are there any questions to the town manager on this? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
and Counselor Jovan.
Yes. Motion carries. Item 14, vote to accept a grant from Med Project LLC in the amount of $650 for the purpose of supporting law enforcement agencies in the collection of and disposal of unwanted medicine. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Catrona, second by Councilor Lazo. Chief?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is basically just a grant for the collection of disposable and unwanted household medications. We applied after July 1st, so we got an award of $650. Usually, if you do it at the beginning of the year, you'll get 1,300 for the whole year. But because we weren't made aware of it until the middle of the year, we got 650. This is for the option one, the funding only grant. And what this is basically this Saturday, from if this is passed tonight, October 24th from 10 to 2, our department's participating in the DEA National Take Back Day. We do it every year. We've been doing it for at least the last 5 years. It's a very, very successful event. A lot of people in the community come down and get rid of unwanted meds they don't want, maybe from a family member who passed away. It is a great tool that you have at your disposal to get rid of meds for free, no questions asked. This essentially pays our officers to go out to an incinerator in Millbury. There has to be 2 police officers. You know, one's the primary, one's a witness. And in the past, the town has been responsible for the cost for this disposal, but this year with this grant, I hope to keep applying for it every single year if it's approved by the council, so it's at no cost to the town. And again, our box in our lobby right now, we must empty that thing pretty much year round, a couple times a month, but especially coming up now as we approach this Saturday. So again, as a public service announcement, if you have any meds in your house that you want to get rid of, please bring them to us on Saturday between 10 and 2. We will be here collecting them in a safe, socially distant manner. And we'll do everything we can to make it as quick as possible so you can come in and out of our community room, and we'll dispose of all these medications.
Any questions? Comments? Thank you, Chief. Roll call.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
And Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item 15, vote to amend section 6-201.1 licenses and fees, paragraph number 4, and section 6-201.11 nuisance and dangerous dog hearings, paragraph 1 to the keeping of pets bylaw, and hold 3 readings as recommended. There are no changes to other sections of the bylaw. This is the second reading of October 19th, 2020. In paragraph 4 of the section 6-200 keeping of pets, new residents bringing dogs 6 months or older into the town of Southbridge shall purchase a license clerk within 60 days. No license fee or any part thereof shall be refunded because of subsequent death, loss, spaying, or removal from the town of Southbridge. Licensing period shall begin January 1st through March 31st of each year. All dog licenses expire March 31st of the next calendar year. Dog owners who renew their dog tags after March 31st or after 30 days from the date of rabies vaccination, or after 30 days from the date of maturing to the age of 6 months, shall pay a penalty of $10. What has been stricken from this paragraph in the red is that there was a grace period after March 31st, shall start on April 1st until April 30th of that year with a penalty of $10. That sentence has been stricken. In 6-201-11, in the paragraph where it says town council chairman shall investigate or cause to be investigated such complaint, the word chairman has been stricken from that. Are there any questions or comments on that? This is the second reading. This was just to clarify this information. We'll have the third reading at next meeting and adoption. Item 16, vote to ratify a negative change order number 4 in the amount of minus $6,500. The proposed contract extension to October 16th, 2020 with Lavengi Electric for electrical upgrades project at the wastewater treatment plant for a revised contract amount of $1,497,214.49. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Catrona, second by Councilor Steves. Heather?
Yes, Jack, there is a mistake in that math of the final amount. It should be 1,497,314.49. It was corrected at our meeting, but I don't think it made the agenda correction.
I'll just entertain it as a friendly amendment. Any objection to that? Seeing none. Okay, Councilor Marquetti, this came to your subcommittee?
Came to my subcommittee and it was voted 4-0 to recommend. Thank you.
Are there any questions to the DPW director? Councilor Ryan, you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Thank you. Seeing none, Councilor Steves, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to point out something that we mentioned at DPW, or that Heather mentioned, that all because of the date has already passed, but the project is already done. So it's just kind of a technicality.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
yes,
Counselor Marquetti,
yes,
and Counselor Ryan.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 17, vote to ratify amendment number 4 with Stantec in the amount of $6,500 for the additional oversight required due to Levangie not meeting the contract completion date for the electrical upgrades project. This change order will be offset by the negative change order from Levangie Electric. Is there a motion?
so moved,
Second.
Motion by Council Lazo, seconded by Council Catrona. Mr. Council Marquetti.
yes, this was also 4-0 vote to recommend to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the DPW director? Seeing none, roll call?
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
yes,
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes,
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
and Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 18, vote to ratify the final negative change order in the amount of $2,000 with UEL for with Franklin Terrace Wall Replacement Project. Is there a motion?
So move.
second,
Motion by Council Catrona, second by Council Lazo. Council Marquetti.
this was voted 4-0 to recommend it to council. You could ask Heather about this. Apparently, part of the wall didn't need to be replaced or something to that effect. I'm not quite sure I understood why the wall wasn't replaced. But
So
Go ahead.
Heather, does this mean we came under budget?
This,
Go ahead.
this means we came under budget. We budgeted for ledge removal in case it needed to be removed. We did not encounter ledge, so therefore we didn't have to use this item. This is just balancing out the final payment on this wall. So this part of the project will be done. The only thing remaining is the reconstruction of the deck, and that is done by the homeowner themselves.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
yes,
Counselor Marquetti,
yes,
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
and Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 19, vote to ratify the agreement with J.H. Lynch for the total amount of $2,415,056 from the fund and following sources. Community Development Block Grant FY19 grant for $590,931. Water Fund from project number 64890 Main Street valve replacement for $312,500. Water funds from project number 64893 Main Street water main replacement for $1 million, and Chapter 90 funds, and authorize the town manager to sign the contract. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
second,
Motion by Councilor Steve, second by Councilor Lazo. Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything that you want to start with on this one? You're muted there, Mr.
We could defer to the DPW director on this, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Heather?
Yep, this is, as you are all aware, we did have to go out and rebid this project, so this is the second bids that we received. The first bids, we were not going to be able to be used for an error in the bid process. We are very happy with the numbers that we did get. They are slightly higher than the previous numbers. Actually, the second and third bidders actually came down closer to the number that Lynch bid. Lynch was about $80,000 and some change higher than their original bid. There were some quantities that were adjusted in the bid items, so there is some part of that a quantity adjustment, about 30,000. But it is within their privy to adjust their price. The first time there was about $300,000 left on the table between the two prices. This time the prices were much closer. I do believe you received the bid summaries in your packages that showed all the bids that we received. They're very, very competitive. We're excited to get this project started, and yes, they will be starting this winter.
Comments? Councilor Daniel?
Yes,
You have
please.
something?
Yes, I do. Through you to the thank you, Mrs. Chair. Through you to Ms. Blakely. Does this go all the way up to the Pine Street intersection, or does it stop at the fork?
It is from Pine Street to Everett Street.
And you'll be replacing the water line under the road at the same time?
And the water line will be replaced first, actually, and then we'll be coming through and doing the resurfacing, fixing the new lights. Timing of the lights will be put in. There'll be all new crosswalk lights. There'll be intermittent lights at the two light crosswalks. They're called rapid blinking beacons, for people to be able to press a button and the beacon will go off. All the lights, and then there will be repairs to the crosswalks so that they're all functioning and being ADA compliant.
So what originally started as a wish that the hill was repaved in front of Cumberland Farms turns into a large project, which addresses a lot of issues at the same time.
Right. I think there was two concerns, was the condition of the road in front of Cumberland Farms and also the timing of the lights. With this, our timing, the timing that you'll have to sit at the light should be improved. It's also a much smarter system than the one we currently have in place, that it will recognize when there is nobody at a light signal so that it won't actually go through that signal. So it should help us with the timing of our lights very much and shorten the wait times.
So what originally started as maybe a simple project mushroomed into something much larger.
They normally do.
Well, I'd like to thank you for the work that you put into it and thinking, considering the water lines are very old underneath Main Street. And I appreciate the work that you and your department has done. So thank you very much for putting together a project that was definitely well needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Marquetti, you had this at your subcommittee, I believe?
Yes, we did. And we voted 4-0 to recommend to council, although I will say all 4 of these agenda items were on tonight's agenda before we even met. So, but we recommended it. We thought they were all a good idea. I think Councilor Steves may have had some questions about Chapter 90 funds. But other than that, we voted 4-0. Thank you.
All right, just to Councilor Marquetti's point, while they were on the agenda already, it didn't mean that we couldn't withdraw them from the agenda. The agenda had to be posted with reasonably anticipated items. So the fact that it was on an agenda before it went through your subcommittee is no slight to your subcommittee. It was due to the timing of this to make sure we could begin a project. At no time, at any time, we can withdraw or defer action on any item. So that's the timing process on that. Just for the public, I don't want the public to think because of your comment that we throw things on the agenda and don't value the opinion of a subcommittee. It's just to make sure that we can adequately debate this and make sure it's out. Councilor Steve, did you have a question about Chapter 90? You did not. The only question that I have on this is we had conversations previously, Heather, about Main Street, the paving with National Grid, that they were responsible curb to curb. Where does that fit into any funded mechanism on this and the reimbursement of the monies that they were supposed to contribute to that project?
Sure, I can speak on that. A letter has been sent. What the discussion with National Grid was, when you get your bids in, please calculate how much based on those bids, and we will reimburse you for our area back. So the letter has been sent for the milling and the overlay that they would have been responsible for, which is the entire area from Everett Street to Goddard Street area, to do the resurfacing. So we did those calculations with the new numbers, sent them a letter. That letter requests just over $100,000 of funding. So they have that, and preliminary discussions with them say that they think that that will be something that they will be able to provide to us.
Okay. Any further questions on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Daniel,
Definitely a yes.
Counselor Dow, Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
and Counselor Catrona.
Yes.
Thank you. Look forward to that work starting, and that project, another project being completed. So a lot of money being spent down there. Item 20, vote to ratify the negative change order number 1 in the amount of $19,020.27 on the precise paving contract for Phase 4 Central Street parking lot to switch the fence material to a more readily available material. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Catrona, seconded by Councilor Lazo. Did this go to you, Councilor Marquetti?
No.
No, Council Adams.
Councilor Adams. Councilor Adams.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. This was voted at the P&D subcommittee meeting held on October 13th. 4-0 was the vote in favor. This is a negative change of $19,020.27 for the change of the original ornament fence, and replacing it with a more readily available. After they did some of the homework, actually, Precise Paving looked into it further. The fencing that was originally planned for that area could not probably be procured until possibly April, May, June timeframe. At that point in time, your CDBG fiscal year 18 funds would have ran out or expired. So that's the purpose behind this negative $19,020.27 change order.
Okay. Mr. Town Manager, you have anything else to add?
I think, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think Councilor Adams summed it up very nicely. And if there were any additional questions, I would defer to our CDBG coordinator, Peg Dean, who is on the line.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Peg or the Town Manager? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Dow, Counselor Dow,
You can circle back to him.
okay. Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Abstain.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
and Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Item 21, vote to ratify the contract extension change order number 2 with Precise Paving from November 12th, 2020 to December 15th, 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's Councilor Lazo.
Second.
And Councilor Adams second. Councilor Adams?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. It was, again, October 13th, voted 4-0 in favor of recommending to the town council. This is this change order is just an extension to take them up to, I believe it's December 15th, so they can finish up that particular fencing area. And if I'm wrong, please let me know.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Anything else? Any additional details? Anybody needs anything else on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Abstain.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
and Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Unanimous of all present. Item 22, vote to ratify change order number 3 in the amount of $2,500.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah,
Mr. Chair.
abstaining, Council Marquetti. Go ahead, Council Adams.
No, that was it. I was just done.
Oh, yeah. Motion carries, though. Item 22, vote to ratify change order number 3 in the amount of $2,500 on the precise paving contract for Phase 4, Central Street parking lot. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Council Lazo, second by Council Catrona. Council Adams?
Yes, sir. That was voted again 4-0 to recommend to the town council. Now, this is to purchase the or add on to the 4-foot wide black vinyl coating chain link pedestrian gate in an amount of $2,500. Now, this being all said, the contract originally was $136,870. If the town council were to add this $2,500 with the subtraction of $19,000 that we just voted upon, the new contract price is $120,349.73. So about a $16,000 decrease.
Thank you. Any questions on that? I think for the record, though, Council or Mr. Town Manager or Peg, the remaining funds that were there, those CDBG or those are the retained monies? What is that? Peg?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The 126 of it would have been CDBG. So you're still under, you're still within your CDBG funds. You wouldn't touch the miscellaneous.
Oh, so the 126 under that 6, where does that money go that's left over for that grant? Does it go back to them?
It would go back to them.
To them, okay.
But we have other causes we could use the money towards. For instance, we could revisit the historic sign. If Bay Path, for instance, wasn't prepared to go forward with the project, we could go out and professionally get that made. There are other options, hopefully, rather than having to send it back to the state.
Okay, thank you. And that's what year grant are we working on in that one?
It's that's FY18.
18. Okay.
Fiscal year 18.
Okay, Council Steves?
Yeah, would it be possible for you to send us a Peg to so if you guys could send us a list of the things you're considering to use that extra? Ultimately, we'll have to approve it since it's a state grant. So.
Okay.
Will do.
All right. Council Lazo?
I'm on board. Don't send any money back. Spend it in Southbridge. Thank you, Peg.
There you go. All right. Anything further? Oh, Heather, DPW Director?
I will just say, that's a contract that has quantities in it. So until we get done with our final quantities, we're not going to know what the final cost of that contract is. We have to pay the quantities that need to be installed.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you. Councilor Adams?
Hey, Mr. Chair, I just want to say thank you to Peg and all the hard work she did on this, as well as the DPW, because they provided kind of like a conceptual design to all of us, telling us what it was and now what it is. And I did have some residents ask me if it was going to be able to hide the dumpsters. And based on what I saw on there, yes, it looks like it'll be able to hide those dumpsters in the near future. So I just want to say thank you for the DPW for stepping up to the plate and getting that done, and Peg for all the work she did on it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And hopefully they do hide it, because I keep going by that Hamilton Street one on the corner. That's the gate's always open and there's always tons of trash there. So, but well done. Thank you. Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Abstain.
Counselor Ryan,
Yeah.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
and Counselor Jovan.
Yeah. Motion carries with one abstention, Council Marquetti. Item 23, vote to authorize the town manager to sign a contract with Energy Conservation Incorporated, ECI, in the amount of $96,904.76 to replace the current pneumatic zone controls for the town hall heating system with new electronic DDC controls, including 6 new zones to be controlled by online interface. This project to be funded by the Mass Department of Energy Resources through the Green Community Program. This was postponed from the move to this meeting because we didn't have the contract. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Council Catrona, seconded by Council Lazo. Mr. Town Manager, I guess we'll go to you first.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you noted, the last council meeting, Council Catrona had inquired whereabouts of the contract. At that time, what was included in the packet was a proposal from the vendor with a dollar amount in the signature line. The contract that is attached here to agenda item number 23 is virtually identical to the one that you approved under agenda item number 19. It is the standard form construction contract that our council, Merrick O'Connell, has created for the benefit of the DPW for all construction related projects. So this has had some minor modifications. If necessary, the questions about the modifications could be addressed by Heather Blakely. But this entire proposal is being forwarded by Rosemary Scrivens as part of the Green Energies grant that we had to improve the boilers. And my understanding was once the boilers were put in, the pneumatic controls were no longer efficient and work with that particular system. So we had to go to these wireless controls, and that this contract would be necessary to complete the project.
Heather, do you have anything else to add?
No, just minor things that were added because this is funded by a Green Communities grant and under a special program with the Massachusetts state. That last bullet that is checked off, that is referring to that program. And we did, so that's really what was added. Everything else is the same. The only thing that other is not covered, isn't required, or is there any bonds underneath that program. So we've taken the bonds out.
Thank you. Council Catrona?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the town manager. I think the grant is a very good idea for the town hall. However, I'm still concerned. I don't see a date of completion. I don't see a date of commissioning under number 2. I said I do see commencement and completion of the project. It just says that the majority of the project should be complete. The contractor shall obtain substantial completion of the project within 90 days. However, that's not giving us a firm completion date and a date of commissioning. I'm also wondering, through the town manager, possibly to Heather, is there training involved also with this? I didn't see it in the contract.
Well, there's not really
Heather.
much to be trained on once it's installed. I mean, it would be, there is training because they will have to provide us how to do the controls and how to change the temperatures, but it's not, these are basically electronic controllers that are going to be controlled wirelessly based on temperature. So based on set points. And we'll be able to enter the set points. It's pretty plug and play once we do it, enter the set points and set different temperatures for different areas of the town hall, which we are not able to do right now at all.
Thank you, Heather. If I could continue, Mr. Chairman. So remotely, if someone is sitting at home, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to be able to adjust the temperature. That's correct, Heather?
That's the concept.
So we have someone currently trained on pneumatics and controls?
No, there is no pneumatics. The pneumatic system is being replaced.
Okay. Do we currently have a controls technician?
No. These will be like your controllers that you would have in your house on your systems, like your thermostat, that you'll be able to set through programming.
Okay.
Through programming off the web is my understanding. Literally, I'll be able to log in from home.
Very familiar with the systems. Did quite a bit of extensive programming with Siemens, as well as many others, Johnson Control. But just some concerns that there's going to be training that's going to be necessary to be able to log in and out of the computers. And I just want to make sure that we're not going to come back for any more funding to say that we have to then train personnel. Does the town currently have an HVAC technician?
The town, for the town portion of the town buildings, has a contract with an HVAC
No.
company.
I'm sorry.
The town does not have an HVAC technician. The school department does. And when we need to, we do lean on them for immediate problems.
Okay, and I do understand that. Thank you. However, that person is employed by the town. That's where I'm going, correct?
Correct.
Okay, the salary comes from the town. So probably, possibly, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, Mr. Chairman. Maybe that's something we can look at in the future is those two different departments and making them one. One final question through you to the town manager, just to circle back, is the date of completion. This project can be completed in January, or it can be completed in 2021. There's no firm date of completion, and there's no date of commissioning. Go ahead.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I just want to correct something that I alluded to earlier. I believed I made a mistake, Council Catrona, when I said that this was the same agreement that was in under agenda item 19. I thought it was. It is not, but this is an agreement that we have used in the past as a standard form agreement for some of our construction projects. That being said, I had talked previously with the attorney who drafted it, and he assured me that the terms that were in there would protect the town. I know that this was amended after conversations with the contractor, and I believe Ms. Blakely, to extend to 90 days so that they would complete it within that time frame. But I would allude to her. But you are correct that there is no set time for completion that there is in the other contract that we already discussed under agenda item 19.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more, just a quick question. And I have no problem supporting this, especially if the town manager is recommending this evening. I have no problem at all supporting it. Just want to be sure that we're not coming back to council with things like training, or we're not going to come back and say that it's the middle of winter and now we're delayed. Heather?
It's the 90 days is 90 days from the signing of the contract. That's how a 90-day substantial completion works.
Okay.
So,
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And just for the record, it does say with a comment that there's no date of commencement. The contract is pretty clear that the contractor shall commence work under this contract within 5 days from the date of execution of this contract. So that is technically a commencement date, because it's saying that we execute on this date, it commences within 5 days. So there is because they don't know, they're not going to be able to put into an agreement a commencement date until we execute the agreement. So that's why it's within 5 days. I'm not an attorney, but I surmise that is the case.
No, Mr.
I do
Chairman,
get the concerns about completion.
That was just a clarification. Just my concern is just completion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That was just for the record, because you did say there was no date of commencement.
Oh,
but
I
it is articulated
apologize.
in
If I said that, I apologize.
Thank you. I got Councilor Steves, then Councilor Lazo, then Councilor Adams. So Councilor Steves, go ahead.
A couple of quick questions to you, to Heather. One is kind of dovetailing on something that Joe asked about, which is, I was curious about if this is being adjustable from home by somebody, who has priority if somebody's in the building at the time and they want to change the temperatures differently?
all those things are going to have to be worked out when we get the controls. I'm sure there'll be some abilities to do overrides if they're in the building, but it's going to be locked down much more than it is now. Right now, it's a free for all on controls. If somebody needs a temperature because some zone in the building is not as warm as another, we will be able to individually change that zone.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be set so that we're not heating rooms to 90 degrees and heating other rooms only to 60. That's the effort that's trying to be made.
Okay, I understand that. I was also going to help follow up with that as a concern about I think I brought up the last time when you talked about this, about the possibility of hacking into the system. We definitely need to make sure that that can't happen, especially if it is going to be internet-based and people have access to it from the outside. You know, I can easily see somebody just screwing around with it and jacking it up to 90 just to be a pain. That's not unbelievable. The one of the questions I had is, so where does the electricity from this system come from to run this system? Where do we primarily get our electricity right now? It's just from the regular National Grid project, the build, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea how much we currently use for energy to run our current system versus what this will cost us in energy?
Well, if you look at their proposal, there is a cost benefit analysis that was done. It does take a long time to pay off, but it should save us money in the long run over the next 15 years. We saw problems with our new system because we didn't have any control over the temperature, and it was on constantly and only being manually controlled, where our gas use went up dramatically in the spring. So our efforts are to try to control that and have more consistency in our temperature control. Really, there is not any control of the temperatures in that building right now. It's either the heat is on or the heat is off. And the effort is being made here to bring that control system up to date and get it functioning again.
Okay, I think it's probably a good idea, although it's always a good idea if people remember just to carry sweaters around and not assume that January in New England is going to be warm. So
right.
That's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Lazo.
No, Heather, it's fair to assume that, say the heat goes down, it'd be an immediate notification to the location where an alert could go out. Am I right in saying that?
I would hope that it should be able to alert us. Our current system, we have nothing like that. I know there's a new temperature indicator that we have in the town hall too, that's been installed through a Maya program, I believe. Melissa was involved, but she got us a temperature monitor, and it's actually in one of the rooms that we know is one of our cold rooms. So to be able to alert us if the temperature goes down in the building.
We had a similar, I think the chairman and I on school side did school renovations, and a lot of their heating systems are controlled by the main base at maintenance department. And Mike Como monitors temperatures in classrooms because we had a problem of people turning up the heat, and one teacher wanted it hot. So I mean, regulating the heat can only save us money. Am I right in saying that?
I completely agree with you. Having a better handle on the heat and being able to turn the heat down on the weekends, not to a dangerous level, but even down a couple of degrees, can definitely save you on fuel over the long run. So we definitely want to be able to do things like turning it back at night, turning it back over on the weekends, and having that all scheduled and programmed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Adams.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I apologize, my computer lagged a little bit, but on page 2, under number 2, in the bold area, I think it's the 5th line down. It says 60 days. It says 60, and then in brackets it says 90. So I may have missed that if you said something, but I just wanted to clarify that you guys keep saying 90 days. I just want to make sure that it's just a typo.
Yeah, is it 60 or 90?
It is 90. Originally, we had 60 in there, and after talking to the contractor, he said we need to give a little bit more time so that we can make sure we get the materials in. So I believe the wording just wasn't changed. We will have that change as a clerical error.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for picking that up. Thank you. And this is all paid out of grant money. So I think, to me, I mean, we had the boilers done under grant money, correct? Anything to improve an old building to make it more efficient to save us money is a smart thing to do. So and time is of the essence. So any further discussion on this? Any other councilors? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Ryan.
Yeah.
Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Counselor Catrona.
Yes.
Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Counselor Jovan.
Yes.
Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
And Counselor Marquetti.
Yes.
Unanimous. Okay, discussion of the status of the RMV registry of motor vehicle lease and take any action on same. So this is on the agenda, and again, this is another item that the town manager from day one had to tackle on something that was left as should be a simple task to something that's turned into a bigger issue. So I'll turn it over to the town manager so that we can start the discussion on this. And I know that as a council, we brought this up to the former town manager many, many months ago to check on the status. We're told that it should be all set, and I think there's a little bit more to that. So I'll turn this over to the town manager. Town Manager McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I first arrived here last month, there was a couple things that I had to look at that were in transition. And one was the expiration of the lease for the RMV facility here in Southbridge. And that 10-year lease expired last month, at the beginning of last month, right as I arrived. I did reach out to the Mass DOT, Massachusetts Department of Transportation representative who was handling the lease renewal, at which point he informed me due to COVID-19 that the Commonwealth was not seeking to do 10-year renewals at this time. They were putting an emphasis on utilizing RMV services online and looking to maintain their larger RMV centers in major metropolitan urban areas. What he indicated at that time was his willingness to give us a 12-month extension while the Commonwealth and the rest of us figured out what was going to happen with COVID-19. So immediately after that, I traded emails and met with Heather Blakely, our DPW director, to figure out what we could do. And one of the reasons we had to meet was the Mass DOT pointed out to us that because of COVID, they got inside that building on Central Street and said that the outside airflow in the current HVA system was not up to Department of Public Health standards, that in order for us to go forward, even with the 12-month extension, they wanted us to upgrade our HVAC system in light of COVID to make sure that once they started giving the public access to the building, we were getting an adequate outside air source or fresh air source into the building. So after Heather and I talked a couple times, we utilized the HVA tech that we have through the school system, and recommendation was we were going to need outside help. We got an outside quote for budget purposes that came back over $20,000. Now, the reason I wanted to discussion is last year lease, we only generated $16,000 of revenue from the Commonwealth, and that had been on a sliding scale over the 10 years, gradually increasing up to the 16,000. I've heard from some community members that have just contacted me asking when it would open and the significance of the RMV being here in Southbridge. And I know, although it predated me, it wasn't lost on me the significance and the fight that the council, as well as many citizens, made to retain that RMV center. But we're also faced with the fact that this will be a public works project, and based on the procurement charts, we're going to need to do some level of public procurement, be it either sealed bids, or we're going to have to do a scope of work and solicitation of quotes to get this work done. And while I gather the sense of the council is you want me to work with our state rep and continue work with DOT to keep this here, I want everyone to be clear that in order for us to even entertain keeping it here for the 12 months while we fight the bigger fight to keep it here for an additional 10 years, we'll be looking at spending some additional monies up and above what we would have been received for the value of the lease this year. So it would essentially be a net loss. It could be a net loss in the amount of $10,000 where we would have had revenue coming in. We're going to have to spend that money and it would be offset. So that's what I have right now, Mr. Chairman. And I have no problem moving forward. I just wanted to make the council aware of that we're going to have to spend a significant amount of money just to bring the building up to the DTH standards in order to continue our negotiations with the RMV and at least secure the 12-month lease going forward. Now, notwithstanding all that, they may not open up right away, but we will need to make those improvements in the event that COVID numbers go down and they start doing business as usual. And that's all I have unless Ms. Blakely wanted to add to that.
DPW? No? Councilor Lazo?
I'd just like to comment, commend the manager on handling what I call an inheritance from the previous manager. And at least we have clear vision of what we can do, can't do. Is it worth it or is it not worth it? I'm going to go on the side of, I think it's going to be worth putting that money into the building for two reasons. One, if it does remain as a registry of motor vehicles, the initial investment of that building was to make it a destination for people to come to Southbridge and to utilize the facility. And as they utilize the facility, they utilize a lot of other businesses in the area, such as, gas stations, restaurants, and various other businesses. But secondly, I think coming from the building field, anything you put into that building, if it doesn't work out with the registry, you can always sell the building and get your money back that you put in on the HVAC. So either way, I think it's worth the, as they say, the good old college try, because having that registry has always been pretty positive for the Southbridge area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Councilor Adams, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Councilor Lazo. I know it sounds like, I think in the end it's worth it, especially for this town. We have a lot of services that are needed within this town and rightfully so. But this is something that, a lot of residents have reached out and asked the question. So I'm in support of taking a look at the overall cost and the benefits. Like Councilor Lazo said, maybe down the road, if it's only 12 months and they say they don't want to be here any longer, maybe they can go and fill that building or find another cause for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors at this time? All right, Ms. Clements, I know you, Councilor Dow, go Councilor Dow first. Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I think we should fix the HVC and bring it up to court to be able to bring back the RMV. We need it in town. And like Councilor Lazo say, it's very important to be on the map by having the RMV, the motor vehicle. So I think we should fix the HVC and try to work with them to come back to town. We need them. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dow. Daniel, did you have something first?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I'm also in favor of putting the work into the building. First off, it's an important building in town. It's a historical building, and I think it adds to the character of the town. It'd be a shame if we let it fall into disrepair and not do anything with it. Secondly, I think the registry is a valuable commodity, for lack of a better term, a valuable service to have in town. And I think we should do what we need to do to pursue them, to let them know once again, as we did 10 years ago, that we value them and that we wish for them to stay in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Clarence?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know I'm not on visually anymore. So I've been waiting for this issue to come up. I was surprised to see it on the agenda, mainly because, like you say, over a year ago, the previous town manager at General Government was questioned about the lease, had no idea when it was even up, never mind how much they actually paid. But we'll go past that because now, unfortunately, Mr. McCall is left with a lease that potentially had it been negotiated, we might not even be in this mess right now. Because it might have already been finalized before the COVID situation. But Mr. McCall, you may not be aware, it was actually over 10 years ago. I know the lease was signed 10, but it was a year's effort prior to that by a few people and 8,000 signatures. and many months of working to convince the state to bring it back from the Mass Pike where they had moved it after it had been located at the Big Bunny Plaza for close to 40 years. They actually moved it. Anyway, it was an oversight hearing at the town hall. It just went on and on. But regardless, it's here and it's in the building that they got free rent for a number of years. Having been one of those instrumental people who worked doggedly to this end, I can assure you that we had garnered signatures that indicated over 68 communities had come to this town to use the registry of motor vehicles. Many from the Worcester, Springfield areas, both which had their own registries, came here to Southbridge because they didn't want to deal with the registries in their communities. So upon getting those signatures, people had to sign and put where they were from. And as I said, we validated 68 communities had come, and we knew it was worth the blood, sweat, tears, and many hours of work that it took to convince at the time Governor Deval Patrick and Registrar Rachel Caprillion, if y'all remember her. It was quite an ordeal. And in the end, they insisted on that we renovate even that building. They insisted we put out, it was a $50,000 renovation. They insisted we put out all of it. And then we put out half of it. And then it wasn't going to happen. And in the end, they took care of whatever they needed to do. They got their free rent and we paid not a penny for them to actually move into it. So it's just kind of a little historical story because it's very near and dear to my heart, my family's heart who stood out there. And I would be amiss not to mention Roger Cowett, who was my right-hand man in this effort. So anyway, moving forward, one of the things I would comment on is when it comes in terms of, they have said to you, the state has said to you that, because of COVID, the air quality no longer works. Correct. So isn't that a COVID expense, I would ask? Could there be some way that a town building no longer meets standards because of COVID, and you could write that off like you're doing with a lot of other little bitty things that you're trying to fit into that COVID number? Perhaps it's a COVID expense that could somehow be attached to something else, in terms of getting back money from the state. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe that ship has sailed. Maybe it hasn't. But certainly it would be something worth looking into, that a public building now requires better air circulation. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. In the meantime, I would also highly, and I'm gonna personally make some calls too. I find it really sad that the state would come and hit, a small community like this with such a small amount for them, and it serves so many. And of course, it helps our community, as was well pointed out. And that was some of the arguments we used way back. But that the state would hit a small community and remove a service that's such needed, and for such a small amount of money, when they should be paying for this themselves anyway, regardless, with all that they've benefited from by being here. So those are just some remarks for me. Again, I saw this and was just, it kind of, my mind popped a bit, I mean, after everything, to hear that they would have the gall to say that we may not be a big registry in terms of size, but volume speaks volumes. And we have proven time and time again that the amount of people that frequent the Southbridge RMV, DMV, whatever you want to call it now, is substantial. So, like I said, I didn't know how close this was or what the actual parameters were going on, which is why I wanted to listen in tonight on it. But it's definitely worth the effort to keep them. And in the end, ultimately, we have a building that can hopefully be, rented to somebody else if need be. But I think it's a COVID issue. And I think if possible, you could move forward even on a partial, investment from COVID money, from COVID reimbursement money. I don't know, Mr. Chair, you're part of that committee, You know what I'm talking. So I leave it in
Thank
your
you, Ms.
hands.
Clements.
That's something that just hit, bang in the head because they're claiming it's COVID that they need better air circulation now. I say it's a
All right.
COVID expense, make the state pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clements. I was gracious to give you more than your 3 minutes, so I don't want you to hold that against me now. I know we've had conversations about using COVID CARES money. There's some parameters on that. We've talked about that at the town hall, so we certainly will look at every avenue. Council Ryan, did you have something?
I was going to talk a little bit about the history, but former Councilor Clements beat me to it. Other than that, I would agree with all the other previous speakers in that we should do whatever we can to keep the RMV in town. It is a valuable service, especially to a lot of people who need IDs who necessarily may not have cars, which we have a high population of citizens in the town who don't have cars. So, yeah, it's an essential service to the community, and I would hate to see it lost.
Thank you. Councilor Adams, did you have something else?
Yeah, I did, Mr. Chair. Not to belabor this any longer, but we also are doing as a town infrastructure work in that area with all the road structure that the state is putting in, and we put money into, and it just adds to that area as we go forward. So again, I fully support moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need a motion to support this or anything? But I'll defer. Councilor Lazo.
I'd just like to thank Denise Clements. I'm a firm believer that you have to know the history on these issues to understand why people push later on because of the history of this building, the registry itself. And I think she came up with some good ideas. And if you need a motion, a vote of confidence to go forward and work on the building, I'll make that motion.
Mr. Town Manager, do you need a motion or just allow you to?
I do the second.
Councilor Dow? Okay. Mr. Town Manager, do you need any formal motion on our behalf right at this time, or just marching orders to go ahead and get us a cost and come back to council for support that?
I'm really looking for the latter, the marching orders. I mean, I already sensed the will of the council, essentially from independent conversations and citizens. But I just wanted to share with everybody that this is where I was at, and that I'll work with Heather Blakely, and we'll go forward and get quotes, and we'll come back to the board, the council with the appropriate quotes, and we can in a contract, and we can go forward. But I just wanted, before I started down that road, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was on board with us moving forward. And the ultimate goal would be to get a 10-year lease, and that would be what I would be shooting for here. We're currently month to month. We want to ensure that extension, but ultimately the 10-year renewal. So, if you want to give me marching orders, that's sufficient for me.
Okay. I don't think you need anything formal because there's no doubt we'll have a quote probably within a week here from you. Or Heather probably, or something out there in the not a quote, but something else scope to get this moving. So, and thank you again for another project that you've inherited that quickly jumped on and already reached out to our state rep to seek their support. So thank you for that, Mr. Manager. I appreciate it. All right, next is another discussion. Continue the town council regular and subcommittee meetings as remote meetings. Due to the governor's order restricting the number of people that may gather in one place for an additional 60 days to December 31st, 2020, and take any action on same. This is, as you are aware, in August, we had voted to do remote meetings for at least 60 days and revisit where we're at with the COVID numbers. I put this on here for discussion. We still have limits on gatherings in public places of 25 people and limits on square footage. Interest in on same. So here for a discussion. So, Councilor Steve.
I know one of the issues that we had talked about back then, and I don't know if I'm good. The cable people are still on. Good. Have we seen any improvement in the ability of the system in town hall to handle the issue of remote with us being in the room? I don't know if anybody can answer that question.
yeah, I have not personally. I know we had conversations with cable access and, you know, they were working on some things, but I haven't been able to follow up on that to see where they're at in regards to this hybrid model. Again, we've had the conversation about hybrid and how if we do hybrid, the ability for people at home to hear the people on a dais, it's just so limited that that's why we are at the remote stage right now. And I've checked, I've tried to check other towns locally to see if any of them have gone to in person. I haven't really seen any towns. And I just want to throw this out. I think kudos to the town hall, because I really do believe that we're probably one of a select few town halls that is fully functional on a fully open basis from what I've seen. But that's all I know on that so far. We'd have to continue that discussion with cable access on that parameter. Any other comments on this?
Well, as far as the rest of the solution, I have no problem with staying remote. It does seem to work well, and it's nice to see Councilor Alhaza joining us.
Joining you.
He had to fly in a technician from out of the continent to have him set up.
We actually, I mean, like earlier at the beginning of this meeting, there must have been like 45 people on this call. So that's a good thing. It'd be nice to see more citizens get involved in some of these calls. And so that would be a big plus if we could do a little more promotion in terms of getting people out there to know how to get into these meetings. But I don't know how much more we can do. We post it everywhere. So
yeah,
what do we do there? Just a few thoughts there.
All right, Councilor Adams.
You know, no, I'll hold off until the council's forum. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. Yeah, I want to welcome Councilor Lazo back. And now I think if we stay online, it's not a big deal. Before I kind of miss him every time we do the meeting, he's not present. I don't mind to stay remote for now, temporary. We're all in 9 council, I think, with the town managers. And I think we can do a good job now. Thank you, Councilor Lazo, for joining us finally. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councilor Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. And I will certainly go with the will of the council, but I am in strong favor of, and I will speak under council's form a little bit more, and I'll ad lib, going back to the dais, getting us back together within the town hall. The room, and I know Andy has given us his opinion. However, I think if we stay distant, that we can certainly go back as a council and practice social distancing and show the community that we are one council. You know, I see, and I did get the town managers had emailed me some time ago, something from the office of the governor, which I've read through thoroughly, and I understand the strengths, but I struggle with this, and so do a number of residents. You know, when we look at, and I know the opinion's going to come back, or I'm going to hear about space gatherings, but you know, we go to church on Sundays, our kids go back to school, they go on buses, we gather in supermarkets, so on and so forth. I'm of the opinion that we can go back to the dais as well and go back into town hall for our meetings. This is working. I certainly agree with the past counselors, and I'll let other counselors weigh in and speak under council's forum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr.
Adams
Chair,
first.
for allowing me to. Thank you for allowing me to speak again. I understand where Councilor Catrona is coming from, and I would love to have them back at the dais at any time. The problem that we had, though, was the fact that the residents could not hear us. And so that was the problem that we foresaw. And I think Councilor Steves had brought up that fact that our technology was not up to speed to be able to do that. Another thing is, besides guidance from Andy, it's requirements by the state. So I wholeheartedly respect that and go back to the dais, but at the same time, this is working. We're recording, we're doing live streaming, so it's working its magic as it is. And if we get better technology down in the next 30 days, 60, 40 days, then maybe we should take a look at it again. But in the meantime, I don't think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I agree with some of the previous speakers. I support keeping them remote at this time. Beyond the technology issues, we are a community right now teetering back and forth between yellow and red. That's worse off than when we first initially went in to having them remote. And I don't think at this time, while we're seeing a surge in cases in Southbridge, it would be a good idea for us to be meeting in a room that's really not easy to, the air gets a little thick and hot in there at times. I think all of us can agree on that. So I would support keeping them remote at least for the next 60 days.
Thank you. Councilor Lazo?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on remote, whether we go remote or we're in the chamber. I'm a fan of being in the chamber. My reasoning for being in the chamber is I think citizens would come to a meeting on a particular issue if they were going to the dais. As far as the technology, I mean, I cannot believe that our cable TV people have the money they have in that account and they can't solve this problem of the technology. But that in a nutshell, I've been involved in politics for over 30 years. I think there was only one or two issues that this hall ever got full. And the hall usually, depending on the issue, you end up with 10 people in the hall. And I think we can accommodate that, even if it went to 15. When you talk about distancing 6 feet and masks, I think we could go back into the chamber and at the dais and do it. There are people in Southbridge that don't have the ability to do what we're doing here. But I'm if there was a vote, I would say go back to the dais. If it goes the other way, we'll continue to do it. But as far as the red and the yellow and all that color stuff, I really have issues with the way it's being handled, but that's another talk for another day. Thank you very much. And by the way, nice to be back, boys and girls.
Councilor Daniel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think in some ways that this is an opportunity that we're not in chambers right now. I think we should probably look at everything that's involved in that chamber for the time being, since we're not there. Tonight we voted on heating controls for the building. We're looking into possibly putting air conditioning into that room. Would we need a drop ceiling? Do we need those lights creating that kind of heat, or would we be better off with modern technology, which would save energy and save costs? There's a lot that conceivably could be done while we're not there. And I think it would be smart on our part as a council to look into everything that perhaps needs to be done. Council Lazo alluded to the fact that I think it was Council Lazo alluded to the fact that there hasn't been much done in that room in many, many years. All I know is that my father used to play basketball in there before the Second World War. So obviously we've got a large hall, and would we need a drop ceiling, for instance, to properly air condition the room at a much more efficient and cost efficient method? So I think we should look into everything that needs to be done, not just one thing or another while we're out, and use this as an opportunity to make the improvements that we should make to the council chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I thought this is the deal when we want a remote to either look at the meet and how we're gonna improve the audio, the TVs, and the AC. I guess this is what we planned when we left the last meeting there, but we never get any update except the AC, too much money. But regarding the TVs and the speakers and all that, we never get any feedback. I cannot remember, we discussed that at the last meeting, supposed to be fixing all that to go back and meet, but it looks like nobody get any info or feedback on those. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe we're gonna have to find out from the cable access school. You know, we had to switch the town manager and all that, and with all the other issues that we had going on right at the beginning that we had to resolve, this kind of got we were doing the remote. So I think I agree with Councilor Daniel. I do agree with all the comments. I'd rather be in the dais, having meetings together. You know, the fact is, yeah, there may be meetings that we don't have anybody there, but we do have meetings. Like tonight, we had, you know, the guidance that was given to us by the Director of Inspections was that the measurement of the town council chamber resulted in a square footage of 41,000 square feet, approximately 2,500. Allowing 8 persons per 1,000 square feet. This limits the total attendance in this room to 20 persons, including board members, support staff, and attendees. So 20 members, which would only give us, there's 9 counselors, a town manager, the recording secretary, 3 cameramen, and then you threw in the Department of Public Works, any citizens that attended, CDBG grant coordinator, anybody else that attends. So I believe that, you know, you know, this gives us a little bit more time while we're in the red and while the COVID goes in, and get all the things about churches and buses. However, the buses, there's strict guidelines on how many kids can be on a bus. I have a family member that drives a school bus, 6 kids on a bus. That's what we're paying for in this town for transportation, because we have to transport kids. We got 6 kids on a bus because of the guidelines. Strict guidelines on other things. So this just gives us a little bit of a little bit more time. We certainly can shrink it down a little bit within 30 days, but this was our goal was to reevaluate it, see where we're going. This isn't the best. I don't like it, but I think going forward we should continue at least for 60 days till December 31st.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. I was going to make a motion to continue the town council regular and subcommittee meetings as remote meetings due to the governor's order restricting the number of people that may gather in one place for an additional 60 days to 12/31/2020.
It's a motion. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? I know Ms. Clements has messaged me. She wants to talk to this issue. I'll give you a couple minutes, Ms. Clements.
I believe it's 3 according to, but that's okay. Thank you, Ms. Thank you.
I'm gonna take back 1 from the other one that I gave you too many. Just joking, Ms. Clements. That's just a joke. I'm not shutting you down.
Figure, Chairman Jovan. Careful up there. Okay, so I think remote is not the way to go, but that's just my opinion and to whatever the governor says, right? Except I don't quite understand, since the governor just released the amount of people that could meet for weddings and parties and bar mitzvahs and whatever, you know, 50% of capacity of a ballroom. You're telling me our capacity in the town hall room is substantially more than 24 people. I suffice it to say it's like 150 people or something like that. So even a small percentage like churches where they were, you know, anyway, that's just my opinion. I really want to speak to the concern that I have heard numerous times, just not tonight, but at council meetings that I've tuned into, which aren't a ton, but anyway, air conditioning in one room that gets used minimal amount of time. That seems to be the focus a lot of times on numerous council members on this council. And speaking only as a citizen, on that respect, I get a little concerned about the cost factor when we're talking about all the costs and all the expenses that are going on to consider renovating some room because of air conditioning, because you're a little warm in the summer, having sat there for 9 summers, except for the few meetings that were held in the library community room, which I know the live feed is gone, but I'm sure that could be figured out somehow. You got YouTube and everything, you have internet there now. But they only moved it a few times when it was like 95 for a heat wave, and then suddenly they'd hold the town meeting over there, which was kind of a standard concept for air conditioning. However, having sat for 9 summers in that day at the dais, at all temperatures, or in the winters when it was cold or whatever. I just find it, I don't know, a cost waste to be thinking to air condition that room for a council meeting once every, twice a month. I realize other people may use that room occasionally, just not that often to warrant spending a fortune on getting air conditioning done. It's only my opinion as a tax-paying citizen. Oh, somebody else is out there watching, but there's only 18 I see up there. So I honestly, at this time, to even discuss such a thing I realize you're not in the room, so wait, it makes sense. Now, cable, paying, making sure the sound is right and technology to get this message across to people, that's one thing. But to even partner it up with air conditioning or some other expense that is not an absolute critical need, that is not respectful to the taxpayers. Just my opinion. Thank you for my time. Night.
Well, thank you for that, Speaker. Obviously, we take the costs seriously. Otherwise, that's why we've been discussing how much it would cost to do that. We're not only talking about air conditioning. We do say air conditioning, but it also has to go into air quality of that room and airflow in that room and how it reflects on the health of everyone, including employees that are there. I've served in town government for over 20 years, and I've spent countless nights in that meeting. So you are not the only one, Ms. Clements, as a counselor to sit in that meeting. Councilor Lazo has spent 30 plus years, and other counselors. So we're all well aware of air conditioning and the stifling heat of that building. I'll go to Councilor Lazo first.
Yeah, Councilor, Mr. Chairman, the 50% thing is what's bothering me. When the governor said you can go 50% of the capacity. And I know that our health and director of inspections is measuring square footage per people. Somehow the governor and our main guy is not on the same page, or something's not right, or I'm getting fed the wrong information. But owning a building, and they said I can go up to 50% in a restaurant. Now they're saying that you don't have to have the table at the restaurant where they have a bar like Teddy G's. They're sitting shoulder to shoulder with no masks, and it's legal. That is the part that I don't understand why we're not in the dais. As far as the construction of the room and air conditioning, you don't put a drop ceiling in the town hall. It's a historical building, and you probably wouldn't be allowed to do that. But air conditioning, if you air condition a hall, the air conditioning falls. It doesn't go up. Heat rises, air conditioning falls. I think if you look at all this, we would probably come up with a different opinion. And the cost of it is probably not cost effective to do it. My problem is getting to the dais and how many we can have in there is better to have the people in the house of the people than what we're seeing here today. One of the stones in my shoe is the actual cable TV committee. It's not a DPW issue to improve the microphones and to improve the technology. And when we look at the money that the ratepayers pay, and it goes into their account off of our bills, and then we sit there and say we don't have the technology, I would direct the town manager to maybe another project. I know you don't need any more, but you've inherited a pile of them already. This has to be addressed from the technology side. As far as AC, that's another decision. Building construction we can talk about. But to get the people back into the hall and the government back in the house of the people is mainly what I'm talking about. And the technology problem, we've always had problems with microphones, sound, lighting, and we've always worked on it. It's always come out of the cable TV account. So I think maybe we need to look in that direction. As far as the feeling of the council, whatever we end up voting on tonight, that's what we're going to end up doing. But I think we need to start working towards normalcy again. Thank you.
I certainly echo that. I would like to get back to as normal as possible, as quickly as possible. I can't wait till 2020 ends. Councilor Corona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, just to address a couple of things and a question possibly. I certainly agree with Councilor Lazo and yourself, Mr. Chairman, with some of the past comments, and to address something that former Councilor Clements was speaking to this evening. We have spoke a lot of this council has talked a lot about air conditioning, but it's not only the air conditioning. We heard that tonight with the registry of motor vehicles. It has to do with the air exchanges per hour that that's how many times we turn over the air in a particular room or in a particular building. And that's just as important as not just the AC, but also with the heating unit. I'm just reading through the same second revised order regulating gatherings throughout the Commonwealth, something that I did receive from the current town manager. And on the last page, page 4, I'm going to skip down a couple paragraphs, and it says the revised order regulating gatherings throughout the Commonwealth, COVID-19 order number 38, is hereby rescinded effective 12:01 a.m. on July 6, 2020, except for the city of Boston, for which COVID-19 order number 38 is rescinded effective 12:01 a.m. on July 13th, 2020. So just if I could get some clarification on that, but maybe through the town manager, because I'm a bit confused by this. Is dated. It's given in Boston, signed 11:25 a.m. on the second day of July 2020 by Governor Charles Baker. And this was a document that was emailed to me by the town manager. So I guess I'm just looking for some clarification.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor Adams, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you said 38. I think we're on 52 right now.
Yeah, sometimes Councilor Catrona, I know they're rescinded and they're replaced with that order that comes out that day. It's kind of difficult to read some of the times on that, but it does think, and the DPW director has weighed in saying phase 3 part 2 still has an indoor limit of 25 people at the same 8 per 1,000 square feet. I mean, and this is where we get, I mean, it's on for discussion tonight. I mean, we can have the next meeting on November 2nd. We can come back with some more information. We don't have to, belabor this point. It was on for a topic discussion. We have a motion before us in a second. I'll ask for, if there's no further discussion, we can take a roll call on that. And then we can always revisit this as we get more information throughout the next couple of weeks. Councilor Marquetti, do you have anything?
No, you said it better than I did. Thank you.
Okay. All right. If there's no further discussion, there's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
No.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
No.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
and Counselor Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion carries 7-2 with Councilors Catrona and Lazo in opposition. Moving on to Councilors Forum. Councilor Lazo is here tonight. We'll give him first up. Councilor Lazo.
Just a couple of quick notes. I'd like to commend Mike Marquetti, my good friend and colleague, along with some of the subcommittee chairmen. I noticed DPW has been on fire since he took that chairmanship. He's to be commended on that. I know Council and the other subcommittees are working very hard, and it's showing through the issues that are coming forward that some of these projects are moving through the ranks. And along with that, I'd just like to say that the town manager has been doing an outstanding job on the pile, what I call his inheritance. He inherited a lot of stuff that should have been taken care of under the previous administration. Due to the lack of performance by the previous manager, this gentleman has walked into piles of issues, leases, projects, and the one thing that is absolutely impressive, and I know no man does anything alone, has created a better concept with department heads, counselors, and citizens, where I'm hearing it on the street that this guy, where did you find him? So tonight, I just want to say to Mike that you're doing a heck of a job. And I know that you're doing a lot of backtracking and cleanup before you actually get your legacy started. So from this counselor, I give you all the kudos and the support. I stand behind you on a lot of these issues, and continue to move forward. I think we're heading in the right direction. We have a good council, and finally, we have a great manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just want to remind people that early voting has started. It is going on at the town hall during normal town hall hours, as well as on Saturdays from 8 a.m. I think there's just two more Saturdays left, excuse me, in which they can go in from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and go to town hall and vote. This is in addition to those who wish to vote by mail, and it's going up until the week before Election Day, which then you'll have the 3rd of November to go vote. So make sure your voice is heard. This is going to be an important election, and go out and vote.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank Councilor Lazo for your kind words. I get a lot of things done when I'm hiding in my basement, so.
Keep up the good work.
I'm just kidding. Seriously, though, a lot of the things that are happening right now happened before I even got on DPW. You can thank Councilor Nash, Councilor Adams, and even Jack Jovan for a lot of the things that are happening right now. I'm just trying to push us forward to get some things done going forward. But thank you very much for your kind words. I have a couple of things tonight. First of all, I'm still getting some calls from residents about speeding on Everett Street. They said that they heard what the comments that were made at the last meeting about speeding on Everett Street. They disagree. They say there is speeding on there. The only thing I could recommend, and maybe the town manager can talk to the police chief about it, and that maybe we set up some kind of a speed record sign down there, a speed recording sign down there, like they use on the roads, the highway departments, because residents really feel that it's pretty unsafe. It is a very tight street, a lot of parking on both sides, and a lot of kids running around. So if you could look into that, I would appreciate it. The other thing is, the other day I had to take my cable box back to the charter office to swap it out. And I noticed a sign on their office door that says they're closing. I think it's October 26th. I don't know if there's anything that you can do about it. Maybe that is their prerogative to move if they want, but they're going to move to Worcester. I don't feel that's fair for Southbridge residents to have to go all the way to Worcester when they need to pay a bill or swap something out. Since we're in the middle of negotiating a new contract, or maybe you're just starting to get involved with negotiating, hopefully that you could make that part of the contract that they maintain an office in Southbridge. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marquetti. Recently, I was in the cable office picking up some supply, picking up boxes for cable. And at that time, there was quite a line there, and people were coming from Webster because they had just closed that office. And Southbridge was the only one local. So I'm not sure what can be done, but hopefully maybe we can just fire something off to them. But it's sad that they're forcing people to go to the Worcester office. Who's next? Councilor Dow. Oh, Mr. Town Manager, go ahead.
Just to both points that Councilor Marquetti raised, I will meet with the chief. I know in previous communities I worked with, we could either put up the tubes or a signboard to do some type of traffic study on the speeding to determine, when it is, and then I could work with him to see if we could do some additional enforcement. And then secondly, to your point, yes, I want to say Councilor Steves had already brought up the issue of the charter closing its local store. I did already mention it to our cable council. I have already started working with him to begin the negotiations. He had already looked to see what other towns are doing, and so far they haven't, if my recollection serves me. I sent the email to Councilor Steves, but I believe he said he wasn't successful in getting that provision worked into any other agreement so far. But we will, of course, look at it here and do whatever we can to maintain the service here in the community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Council Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to say thank you for everyone, all the town council, the town manager, they're all doing a great job. Continue, strong, aggressive improvement. 20 years before nothing done. Now we're doing some stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Dow. Councilor Steves?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of things. First off, I'll send you the email that Mr. McCall sent me so that everybody can see it about the comments he had from our attorney dealing with the charter thing. And also, I wanted to ask, since we're talking about the town manager and we've been talking about a bunch of stuff that he's been working on, one of the things that came to mind is that occurred to me was that we really need to sit down and figure out if we want to set down a list of goals and objectives. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have enough to do already anyway, but we just kind of formalize it so that we have so that we can kind of have a track of what we're doing, what we're actually looking at the end of the first year. I think we said that we would do that within the first month, and obviously things have been getting out of hand in the last month, and he's been doing a ton of stuff that obviously is worth crediting because he's been doing great stuff. But we just need to have something on paper. Also, I was curious, is Rosemary still on the call? Doesn't look like she is. Because I was curious if we have any more, or if Mr. McCall can answer this. Do you have any more updates on what's going on with the micro enterprise grants? Have we been getting?
If I may, Mr. Chair, no, I do not. I cannot comment on that. Peg just popped. She might
Peg popped up. Peg?
Yes, she is.
Yeah. So the grants opened up on the 9th. So the applications are available directly through Quabog Valley CDC. So if anyone's interested in receiving an application or being walked through that process, they contact them directly. We have heard from Quabog Valley CDC, they are getting applications in the door. So that's promising. And we look forward to bringing to you the process of how we'll go forward with releasing funds.
Okay. Also, do we have come on, Brain. Can you have an update on where things stand as far as the cannabis projects and the host community agreements that we've approved already, where things stand on development and all that stuff? I mean, obviously, I think most of us have seen the Green Meadows project, and I think most of us went to the public meetings for some of the other ones. Some of us did anyway. But where do they stand in general in terms of like the CCC and so forth?
Mr. Town Manager?
I'm in the process of coordinating meetings with all the various representatives, the different entities that we have host agreements with. And I do know, I want to say the one on Main Street, 833 Main Street, had received provisional approval of their license from the CCC. So
that was a different one. 833 is the proposed one. It's the Touch Team building.
Okay.
The one by
I don't know all the names of the building, but it was, but I can get you an update. Hopefully by the next meeting, I should have met with all the different entities by then.
Okay, thank you. And also, let me see here. One more thing. Oh yeah, and the last thing I wanted to say is that I just wanted to send off a quick thank you to the Libraries Knitters group, which is still actually started meeting again. It's now at the Senior Center, for making hats and gloves and various other things for the annual library collection, even though they're not doing it at the library. That's going to homeless people and other people in the community that need it. So it's good. A little kudos to them. And that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll circle back on the goals and objectives. I was going to joke that we probably could take evaluation instrument and goals and objectives that we had already developed and probably evaluate Mr. McCall on those right away and probably have a couple completed within 4 weeks already. So
we could.
Go to Council Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple things this evening. I want to commend the fire department and local departments that responded to a devastating fire this week up on Dennison Lane. One thing that I really appreciate from the town manager as well as the fire chief has been communication, much improved. We get multiple emails with updates from the town manager, and that's appreciated. Something that came up after that, and speaking with someone about it, and I'm not sure, I don't see the fire chief online, but are the call or the poll stations in town? I know one time we had started removing them, and I didn't know where we were or where that progress is right now. But I know there's still one at Walgreens. I know there's another one up on Pleasant Street that was mentioned to me. And I just don't want anyone to have a false sense that they're active or they might be active. I'm not sure. But if we could get an update from the chief, I think that would be very helpful. I know the one at Walgreens has some yellow caution tape on it. The one I went to look at was up on Pleasant Street, and there's no caution tape on it. And again, I don't know if it's active or not, but I was responding to a citizen after that had a concern. Overall, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather, okay. Yeah, well, Heather, do you have any information on those poll stations?
I had a conversation with the chief this morning regarding the fire lines and the removal, because we were talking about the bucket truck. And he was telling me that he thought by the spring, the end of next spring, that all of the old fire lines that we had, so that would be for the pull boxes and the monitoring systems, should be removed because they're in the process of removing them. I don't know specifics on those ones that you're speaking of, but I know that different sections of town have already been removed. And they're going to, basically alarm monitoring technology as opposed to having the alarms monitored through the fire lines that run on the telephone poles. So he was saying spring, so we still got 6 months before everything is done.
Awesome. Thank you for the update.
Thank you, Heather. Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, maybe I can help to Councilor Catrona's point. I haven't checked this bi-weekly report, but I do know the fire chief has put some information on him in the past. I don't know about this past week's, but I know it's been on there before, so I don't know how updated it is, though. Again, I wanted to pass on is thanks to the town council in general for the consistent support through the veterans causes and issues. So again, I want to say thank you to all of you. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Montigny, who is making sure that Councilor Lazo is not pushing any buttons that he's not supposed to push. And I appreciate him staying online this entire time this evening. So hats off to you all the way from Puerto Rico to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Technology guy. Councilor Marquez, did you have something else?
No, I was just saying hi to Mike Montigny. That's all. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I'd also like to pass on condolences to the family of the recently deceased citizen. Very tragic situation. And kudos to the fire and police departments for trying as best they could to prevent a horrible situation from happening. On a better note, I'd like to compliment again Heather Blakely and her crew for the work that they've done for getting road repairs underway here, and also not forgetting Councilor Marchetti and his pushing us to look further into it. When I ran 2 years ago, one of the things that I heard from the citizens as I was running is that they wanted roads fixed, and it takes time to get the funding put together, to get the engineering done. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, but what you're seeing now is $500,000 put toward a neighborhood road project. You're seeing $2.5 million put toward a Main Street project. You're seeing I think $200,000 put toward the TIP project, which is over on Central Street and Hook Street. And I believe there's also money that we're setting aside for the South Street project as well. So it takes time. It takes a lot of effort on the part of the town manager and the the financial people in town hall to find where the money can come from, where we can put it. And, we get the opportunity to approve it when it finally comes in front of us. So I'd like to say that we're able to do that. I'm pleased to be able to do that. And I won't mind hearing the complaints from the people when they say that there's too much going on in town and that they're having a hard time following all the road detours. I think that'll be a good thing. And I think it's also indicative of the good things that are happening in Southbridge with the potential for the overlay districts to add improvements for us in the Globe Village and down at the old AO. I think that there's a lot happening in town. This is a good town. I was talking with someone just this afternoon who was doing some landscaping work nearby where I live. And right away, he said, "How's it going on the council?" I said, "It's going well." He said, "This is a good town." That's just without me having to beg him for any comments or anything. He just came right out and said, "This is a good town," and he's happy that he lives here. And I echo that thought. I'm happy I live here. This is a good town. And I think we're doing well by the town for the citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have. At this point, the next regularly scheduled council meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 2nd, 2020.
Thank you. Councilor Daniel, great comments. I think we're excited about, if you take a look at it, starting at Wells, that project is starting today. You see the fence going up. You're now going to start to see Main Street being fixed. So, yeah, there's a lot of good things and positive movement. Councilor Steve, did you have one more thing?
Yeah, I had one quick question that Councilor Daniel mentioned that made me think of it. Do we have a date yet for the public hearings on the zoning changes?
I haven't gotten anything from the planning board yet.
I haven't seen anything.
So, yeah, I'll follow up. Councilor Adams, did you have anything on that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be calling Eric tomorrow. I can follow up with that.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I know it's not posted.
Yep. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Lazo and Councilor moved it, and I'll go to Councilor Steve for second. Roll call.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves.
Yes. Night all.
Right. Thank you.
Good night.